Live from Studio A in PressCorps World Headquarters, this is Zero Dark PressCorps. It's a live, community-based call-in show, fielding your thoughts on and tales from the Foxhole War. So join the Discord right now through the link below, sign in through the call queue text channel, and hop in the voice lounge for a chance to share your story. Tonight's developer guest, lead developer, Markfoot. And now, your host, 13-time winner of the Geoffrey Jennings Award for Excellence in Journalism, Geoffrey Jennings.
Welcome to Zero Dark PressCorps, just as the man said. I've already forgotten how many of these we've done. What is this, 20, 21, 22? I'll figure it out in due time. I'm sure someone will mention it. But regardless, it's just so great to be back here, and so fantastic to see the community liven up again. And personally, I just want 22, there we go, that felt right. Yeah, so I'm expecting a lot of 22 ACR tonight. No, but I just want to say first and foremost to everyone, thank you all for your support, whatever little ways, whether it's stopping by the PressCorps Discord, submitting something, talking to one of our reporters, not shooting one of our reporters, or even just taking 2 minutes to listen to something we do and then thinking, it's not for me. Perfectly fine. Thank you for any bit of support that we give to this silly little thing we do. But yeah, this is the 59th conflict, on track to be one of the deadliest conflicts in the Foxhole War. It's a weird way we celebrate here in Foxhole, our landmarks, but casualties is one of them. And in less time too, on track to make War 19. Mark, how do you feel about that, first and foremost? Let's get on that first. Yeah, just your overall feelings of it.
Is always a little different because when these big wars happen, our state of mind is we've just been working very hard to get these updates out, and it's not like a single player game where you get the update out, you're kind of done, you like throw it out there, and then you get rest, right? But in the case of a game like Foxhole, it's almost like now the real work begins. So you're going off of like pushing a lot of like spending a lot of your time and energy making the update, and then when it's out there, there's this you have to support a huge war with lots of players, and this war actually really exceeded the amount of players that joined in, the amount of new players that we got, like far exceeded our expectations. Like we thought that, because usually we push these updates out at the beginning.
Interrupt, but you are echoing
yeah,
a lot.
I switched it.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, so usually we push these updates out in June for a summer update and before the seasonal sale, and that really gives us, it's a good time because a lot of players are just off on their summer holidays, but this time we couldn't make it, so we pushed it. So our expectation was like maybe we'll peak at like 1,200 players or something like that. But it ended up going to like 2,200 players or so, and so we were kind of like, our first whole week was just scrambling to make sure that the servers are still up, that the queues are at a manageable level, and
survival first.
Survival first, basically, and we had to hotfix like various problems. But in terms of the technical issues, I know we had some latency issues with our servers today, but in terms of the technical side, surprisingly, it wasn't as challenging as it usually is. Like, there's usually a lot more bugs we have to fix. The trench warfare update, there were like holes in the world. This time, we all looked at each other and we're like, I don't want to jinx it, but in terms of the technical issues, it's not too bad, right? It's pretty good. So it was mainly the queues that we had to deal with, and that was a real challenge for us, because we were constantly trying to balance, okay, we can push the envelope, increase server capacity, which we did, and we were able to fit a lot more players. Like every server, we're starting to get there. Like during these times, we're able to almost reach like not quite 200, but like 180 or so players. We start pushing the envelope there. We look at performance, make sure it's still okay. But it was like a lot of work just to manage that, right?
So I guess, going off that, yeah, since we've surpassed 20, I think 2,200 was the highest number, more or less, going off Foxhole stats. But I guess then what are the options available if, for whatever reason, the population far outpaces 2K in the near future? So let's say, for whatever reason, 3,000 extra people just dump onto the server one day. What are the options for you guys then?
Yeah, so our goal always is to obviously have every player in the same world. And what we try to do is we try to build for what is going to be like the what will support the average population, right? Obviously, the average population is not like 2,200, right? It's much lower than that. Um, and then what we do is, in case there's a spike, whether it's because of a sale, because who knows, maybe like a streamer that's huge is going to start playing the game, or maybe at some point if we do like a free weekend, um, we try to find ways to like deal with the temporary spike, right? Which may require things like, okay, maybe there needs to be a secondary shard. Maybe there needs to be. In the past, we've done things like we've opened up these like overflow servers. So it's like, how do we deal with the temporary spike, which is challenging because you don't want these new players having a suboptimal experience, right? By
Right.
playing in secondary war or something. But this is this is like an ongoing challenge that we've solved in different ways. I think probably what would happen if let's just say as an example, um, uh, there was a free weekend and we couldn't fit all these people, we probably would use more shards. But when the population starts to like normalize back, then we say, okay, where did it normalize to, or we at least try to predict where it's going to normalize to, and then we can make a larger world as an example, right?
Hmm.
That is an option on the table. Like at 1.0, I think I, we're still planning things out, but I can't imagine us not expanding the world at least like somewhat, right?
Right. Well, it again, I guess the main theme about all that, which you elaborated on, is just, yeah, survival. If 2,000 people just randomly drop on the other 2,000 people, we would love to preserve the community of one shard. Love to have that one experience. Love the story of that. But at the end of the day, you don't want 2,000 people literally waiting in queue. So just open up another shard. Sounds good to me. I don't know. I have no idea what kind of cost that would be server side, but that's, I don't know. I don't think we're going to get into finances tonight. I know there's people who'd love to, but I guess the big topic that has kind of exploded in the past couple days is the topic of alting. So with the rise in players bringing Foxhole a little closer to the mainstream, we have seen a rise in reports of alting, which is a phenomenon where a player will join one faction to intentionally sabotage their assets and resources in aid of the other faction. Can you comment on the size and severity of this issue?
Yeah, so it's definitely a problem. It's definitely a problem that we've always had. And I think this to narrow it down specifically, because when someone says, "Oh, like an alt," it can mean a lot of things. I think you had a very good definition of it, but I'm going to be
Yeah.
a bit more specific. If you break the code of conduct, it doesn't matter like whether it's through a cheat program or using like an account to try to circumvent a ban, or like whatever it might be, right? If you break the code of conduct, this is this is definitely like something that we care about. Uh, this is definitely there will be ramifications on your account. There, what those ramifications are. Obviously, we look at a variety of things, but this is something that's always been a problem. And I think the one thing that has that has changed is the scaling, which is essentially what you're talking about. With more players, we start dealing with the scaling problem. So it's not like we weren't dealing with them. It's not like we weren't dealing with them like before, and now we are, right? It's more like as the player population scales, as the types of issues start to change, or maybe they come more like severe for a variety of reasons, we have to scale how we deal with them, right? And obviously, some of the things that we like announced today, which is one, family sharing is no longer supported, which is actually effective now. It's a change that is rolling out, and
Why was family share? For those not in the know, for those who don't have the time to go into the details of how people alt and cheat, what did turning off family sharing do for the game?
I can explain.
I'll have Markfoot explain it.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, by using family share, you can create an alternate account to help you break the code of conduct, right? You can use it to try to circumvent a ban. And again, we were dealing with this already, even before. Like family sharing is not a solution to this. Turning off family sharing is not a solution. It's to help with the scaling problem. So someone can do this to try to circumvent a ban, to try to deal um, to try to grief more effectively, and that definitely makes it a bit it's more work to have to like deal with this issue, and because it's more work, we need to find like a scaling solution to scale to this problem, and the solution is we're just going to switch it off, so you can't do that anymore.
And then additionally, the second big change, and this was rolled out, I think, literally hours ago, within a hot fix. The other one was I believe, Valve anti-cheat (VAC) is now activated. Is that currently in the game right now?
VAC is not activated yet. It's something that we rolled out the family share change, and it should be effective within the next like 24 hours or so. And VAC is something that is coming soon. It's not there now. It's probably not going to be there tomorrow, but in the coming days, it is going to be there. And the reason why we're not doing it right away is because the ramifications of this it's not just your Foxhole account, on your Steam account is very severe. It's something that Valve, if you go to the website, if you just
type in
search
VAC
for VAC
or Valve
VAC
anti-cheat.
Steam,
Valve anti-cheat.
Valve anti-cheat, there's a whole page about it, and essentially, once you get a VAC ban on your Steam record, it is very hard. I don't think it's even possible to reverse unless there was like clearly a mistake on Valve's end. So this is not even something really that we can do anything about. You can't come to us and like give us your sob story about why you were using like cheat tools. There's literally nothing we can do. You gotta talk to like Gabe Newell or something. Maybe he can like free your account.
He puts his email in developer commentary for games all the time. So I think he'll just
Sure.
I'm sure he'll read it.
Email him.
So then I know there's been kind of a small mini panic about the use of modifications, sound mods, visual mods, FO field of vision mods. Can you go into that and how that relates to VAC and possible bans?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be a little bit like vague about this because we're still in the process of getting things up and running, and also it is a bit. Whenever we talk about this stuff, we gotta worry because there's players that are gonna try to test the system. They want to skirt the rules. So right now, at least, we can't be that specific, unfortunately. And I know you're gonna feel like I, I'm kind of like being vague, but it is on purpose. um, but what I have to say is this: if you're not breaking the code of conduct, if you're not breaking the code of conduct, if you're not running any cheat tools, you don't have anything to worry about. If you're trying to skirt the rules, you're trying to test the system, you're trying to figure out, hey, what's going to work, what's going to not, maybe I can get away with this, maybe I can get away with that, then I really think you should stop because once, like, if it turns out that a VAC ban occurs, then again, this is very hard. This is going to be on your account for the rest. Unless, yeah, it's going to be on your Steam account.
Right.
Yeah.
So with these changes, you've closed a door that leads to alting, which is the family share. And then you've implemented, or you are going to implement Valve anti-cheat, which is more straight up modifications, like hard cheating, and other things. Discounting, of course, modders. That's more people caught in the crossfire. But and I'm sorry, VAC is going to be implemented tomorrow.
No, it's not tomorrow. It's going to be soon.
Gonna be soon. So get the word out to, I guess,
Yeah, so
uninstall your
like
mods.
yeah. So one thing that is important, the one thing that is important to us is that we don't want to just um, we're worried about the security aspect, but we don't want to spring this on people. Like, we want to give people sort of like a warning, right? So that they know. And in time, I think we're working on it. Maybe this week, maybe next week. We're gonna be. I'll see, because something about the schedule maybe I should talk about too is that we originally wanted some of this stuff to be in update 37, right? We wanted for the summer update, but we really, this was a harsh update cycle. Like, there was just so much work, and it seemed like it wouldn't be that bad, because we're like, oh, we took care of trenches. How hard can this stuff be? But it ended up being really hard on a schedule, and we had to push something. So this is not something that we just thought, hey, let's just like do this now. Like, we wanted to do some of these things for update 37, but we just ran out of time, and we were going to do it for update 38 after we got some rest. But the scaling problem started to be a real like drain on our team, just having to scale our moderation up to handle the population. So we said, you know what, like, let's just hold off on the rest. Let's make these changes. Yeah, so it will be soon. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the piece of advice that you would recommend is if you have a mod, any kind of mod for the game, uninstall it now to be sure. Is that something you would recommend? Blanket.
I would say, I would say this. Like, it. I know this is vague, and I know it's frustrating right now, and hopefully
Okay,
we'll have more
okay.
information. But if you're not breaking the code of conduct, if you're not running any cheat tools, you're probably going to be fine. Right?
So that's him. I'm gonna say uninstall it for a week or two. Just be safe. This is my advice. Just do it for if it's if it's obviously a harmless mod, something like sound or visuals, you can live without it for a bit. It'll be it'll be fine. We all went through not all of us, but a lot of us went through the combat mechanics 2 years ago. You'll be fine without some sound mods for a bit. But moving on about about moderation and how that's been changed. So the ticket system's been introduced, has been for a while, and then what does that leave the moderators to do? Because now if there's a complaint, if there's a case of alting, so maybe not modifying the files, hard cheating or technical cheating, as I guess I like to call it, but now just someone being a jerk and abusing things, they send a ticket, that goes to Clapfoot. What do the mods do in this sense?
Yeah. So we're doing something similar. I think a part of, as we used to do with the moderation team. I think the one thing that is, again, it goes back to that like scaling problem. We know we're going to be at 1.0, probably like mid next year, if I had to sort of update the estimate, mid next year. And like, we we want to we wanted to start now to work on solutions that are scalable, and um, moving to this system is a part of that. Like, it's a learning experience too, right? Like, we're also trying to figure out what's the best way we can deal with these scaling issues at 1.0. And I have to say that, like, this is why, there's a reason why nobody works on a game like this. There's a reason why most studios will be like, you know what, I'm not going to touch that type of game, because I can see a million miles away all the kind of issues that are going to happen, like these moderation issues. So one of the things that we said to ourselves is, okay, look, like what is it? What does moderation going to look like at 1.0? We got to start um, learning how to deal with this in a scalable way, right? When there is maybe like 4,000 players, maybe there'll be 5,000 players. I don't know. And moving to this new system, um, all these steps, like I actually feel like the thing is this move wasn't to be like, okay, moderation is completely failing right now, let's like change it. No, this move is how can we have a scalable system for when we launch into 1.0. And that's what it is. And that's also where this family share change is going. This is also where the VAC system is going. And there's also other things that we have been working on too that we just don't talk about, right? It's things that are not user facing, but just to sort of give you an idea, like a lot of what we have to do is we need more information on what players are doing in the game, right? So like,
And that's going to require moderators then.
well, it's moderators, and there's more tools on the analytics, right? And something that we did back in May and back in spring is we started to instrument a lot more like analytics on the game, so we can start tracking things like knowing exactly what a player is doing. Like anytime a player submits a, as an example, right? I'm not going to get into specifics. Obviously, it's like a security issue, but an example like knowing, okay, if somebody literally like enters the vehicle, as an example, if a player um, submits like an order into a factory, like we start tracking, we start to build like a database of all these things that are happening, so that if 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 we do have to investigate a player, the visibility and again, scaling is the speed, right? Like how fast can we figure out what happened with this player? But to be honest though, the one, I think another thing that I have to say is that like having, it doesn't matter whether it's a moderator, a developer, or like whoever, having to sit down and do something like this is difficult to scale. And no matter what way you look at it, even if you hire like 10 to 20 people, it's still a tough problem, right? And I think that what we are more interested in, that should be like a last resort, right? That shouldn't be the first uh, plan of attack. Like
Hiring more mods, hiring more, community managers in the sense to help KFC. So that's something that's not the approach that you immediately want to take. You'd want to take that the players handle it.
I would say no. I would say that you have to attack the problem from like different angles, right? And whether or not hiring more people or trying to tackle it from that standpoint is almost a separate question. Like for me, it's like, what can we do to make it so that in a lot of these cases it doesn't even reach that point, right? So like so one of those things is, maybe if there is something that is possible in the game, maybe it should be solved at the game design level, so that it can't even happen. Obviously, we have to be careful. We don't want to compromise the game, right? By saying something like, like a really heavy-handed version of this would be like, well, if we turned off the friendly fire, there's no more friendly fire problems. But obviously, that's going to compromise the game, so we don't want to do that. But there might be something else, like for example, we don't allow you to deal friendly fire on critical structures, right? Um, and then we ask ourselves, okay, is that ruining the immersion of the game? And then the answer is no, it's not. Okay, that's fine. And now that whole problem, that whole like griefing problem of, say, like satchel charging your own like storage depot, is gone from the game. You can't even do it. And I know you can do it if you use alt or like whatever, but I'm just saying that really basic case you can't do. And what happens is that if a player is not able to do that, we don't have to worry about that problem going and propagating through the entire chain until it reaches a moderator or like a developer or someone where we have to sit down, spend some energy on it. So that's the first thing that we want to do, right? And the second thing is like, we want to make sure that players are deterred, right? Like we don't want to encourage them to be doing these things. And then there's also the self moderation tools, like like the vote kick system, which I think has a lot of work because there are issues with it.
Issues specifically with abuse, with it being abused with a kind of a
exactly
by large groups. Yeah.
Yes, that's a problem, and again, that translates into a moderator problem. Now we have to go in and try to figure out how to deal with it, right? So the issue is not like, okay, to be like, we don't want to have any kind of like moderation, right? What we're interested is what's the best for the game, right? Like, how do we um, improve moderation, but not just by a brute force, by like dealing it from, okay, can we solve it as a game design problem? Can we try to deter players? Are there self moderation tools? And then finally, like, how do we improve the process of an actual like moderator taking a look at it, right?
Mhm.
So it's like a multi-dimensional problem.
Yeah, and then there's no, as you always say, as Max always says, there's never an easy answer, because the moment you propose something, half people will like it, half people will hate it, and there's another half will come out of nowhere and just juke you with a different suggestion altogether. Real quick, because we do want to get to callers, and we spent a lot of time on this because it was. We could literally talk about this for another hour, but we do want to get to calls. If you want to bring these questions in, please use the call queue, and we'll let that call queue be our guide.
Okay.
Real quick though, what's up?
I want to talk about ID I have for
Yeah, in the call queue. You can put it in the call queue. We'll get to it when you get to the order. Mark, a lot of people have been asking about specific people getting banned or specific cases of banning. Is that something you are willing to get into?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so just to be clear, if anyone comes in here and begins asking questions about that, we will have to say, sorry, Mark's not comfortable talking about that. Additionally, the PressCorps has a long-standing policy of not really getting into those things and deferring to the Foxhole moderation team, which I guess you've got your answer there. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You can feel free to sit here and we can argue that out at a dead end for 5 minutes. Make it as uncomfortable as you want to, but that's just where we'll be. But anyway, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to our callers tonight, starting off with, let's see, oh my goodness, where did he go? Oh, is he still in the chat? Wolfie, where's Wolfie? There he is. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of people tonight. That's fantastic, but it's actually harder to drag people down into the chat. There we go. Wolfie. Wolfie, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Hey, welcome to Zero Dark Press Corps. What did you have for us tonight?
Yeah, I was just deafened because it's a lot of ruckus up there. But anyway,
I always dread going into that chat in the middle of a show. But go ahead.
Yeah, your friendly neighborhood only Saudi player to ever play Foxhole is visiting at 3:30 a.m. my time. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about the new tank system, specifically to Markfoot. It's something that is very just. I know that the whole community would probably hate, but it's just something that bothered me so much that I just, instead of making a post that's just gonna get drowned, like, just rather address it here. But anyway, my issue is when it comes to the whole RNG factor of the tanks. Now, I like how it went realistic in a sense with all the subsystems and the armor bouncing, but when on the dev stream, correct me if I'm wrong, someone mentioned, or Crazy mentioned, that it plays like Company of Heroes 2. I feel like that really, as a person that has played 840 hours of Company of Heroes 2, it really plays nothing like it. And I'll simply just say that the RNG is way too much, in the sense that it just affects your gameplay too much. To put it into reference, in Company of Heroes 2, what would happen is when you put two tanks against each other, with numbers and obviously what tanks you have, there's a certain, even though there it has RNG with the same subsystems and same armor bounces and side and rear armor, it really, how to put this, it just doesn't play the same way, because there you're guaranteed to a certain degree that okay, when I go into this fight, I'm going to win. Or if I chase this tank, I'm going to be fine. In the sense that if I have a high class tank against another tank of the same class that's lower HP, that tank is guaranteed to die. If I have a high tank class against a lower tank class, then yeah, that's guaranteed to die as well. But here, it doesn't play that way at all. And after extensive testing both Dev Branch and the recent weekend when we got as Colonials BTs, it doesn't play like that. And at this point, I feel like it's killed tanks for a lot of veteran crews. Now, that may not be true.
Kill tanks in what way? As in, it's just
Yeah,
not fun anymore, or
no. I mean, let me just put this, give a little bit of context here. So I'm part of Vox, right? And KFC knows us since the flippin' old days, and we have been doing tanks since, some of us at least have been doing tanks since their release, and we have so much experience and really love tanks as a whole. And when we did this system, it just killed it because it forces you to play a certain way. When you have an RNG mechanic, it makes you play in a certain way that forces optimization of the greatest RNG, as in how am I going to optimize it so that I'm going to win guaranteed. Likewise with infantry. And that, I believe, is what kills it, because it makes the game, or playing it, very monotonous. Because, if I pronounce that word correctly anyway. Because when you flank with a tank, or when you're up against tanks, you can play correctly, but you're just gonna reach a gap in skill because there's no certain degree of guarantee. The whole armor mechanic, you can't tell whether an armor is fully depleted or not, so then you can just focus that armor, and then maybe a tank shot is going to bounce. And I'm going to tell you, when two tanks are going against each other, it's a very sensitive very thin line between life and death. Whoever gets the first shot by even a second wins the whole fight. Whoever gets the shot by on a rear armor can win instantly.
And do you like that, or do you not like that?
Like what, the current armor system?
So you're describing the current armor system, correct? The one that was newly introduced.
Yes.
And you're saying you don't enjoy that. You don't like how it's.
No.
All right. So then I guess, are we talking specifically about RNG, or are we talking about just how overall the subsystems kind of play into things, or can you whittle it down to a specific feature?
Honestly, if anything, it's the RNG factor of it.
Sorry to interrupt you, Wolfie, but I do agree with that, especially as an infantry player. Sometimes stickies just bounce off of a tank for no reason, even though stickies should be a high-risk, high-reward weapon.
Yeah. No, but I'm just gonna put this into frame reference. When I did BTs once, right? Me and Vox went for a flank. We went for a flank on a BT, and it had its whole rear armor exposed, and we were pretty much guaranteed to win. But we were thinking in frame of reference of the pre-arms race. But as soon as we went in, literally the first shot disabled our turret, and we couldn't do anything because it's just gonna chase us. And obviously, it's not like Omnivorous to where you can outspeed other tanks or get out reliably, because it's a thin, like I said, it's a thin line between life and death. I'm gonna try and explain this as best as I can, as there's a lot of things to explain, but the point is that there's just no skill to it, right? With infantry, it was fixed. You can fix it by grouping up with people to nullify the RNG, and that's a good thing. But with tanks, it's like you can group up, but you're still gonna get wrecked, because I can play correctly, and I'm still gonna get turret disabled, and I'm gone, or I'm gonna get tracked, and then I'm just gonna get onslaughted by infantry or be easily targeted by an FA. Like, it's that kind of thing that really made tanks seem unskilled to me, and that's why Vox is on the verge of just quitting doing tanks altogether, because it doesn't matter how we play. All we're gonna do is just group up with other people, and then just hope RNG goes in our favor. Like,
so I guess, Markfoot, the main point of contention here, or at least one of them, is that RNG is in many other aspects it's acceptable, but for something as high ticket item, high priced, precious as tanks, especially battle tanks, RNG kind of cheapens the skill that a tank requires. Something, this huge item that requires a lot of skill to wield and master. RNG kind of cheapens that and kind of comes into just kind of a weird conclusion. Can you go into that, how that relates to armor, RNG and armor?
Yeah, I guess my question, because I kind of want to understand your feedback a little bit more. So you're saying that, I guess a couple questions is, one, you're saying that you prefer the old system over the new one, if I'm hearing that correctly, right?
Yeah.
And my second question is, if you prefer the old system, and I'm assuming you don't feel like the old system was perfect, unless you do. But if you feel like there was an improvement over the old system, like, what would you want it to be? Or I guess another way to put it is there anything in a new system that you do like that you almost want to keep but change something? Or is it totally like you just hate every aspect of the new system, you just want the old one and that one's perfect?
No.
Like,
Yeah. I prefer the old system, and if I want to keep something, I would choose the subsystems, but not the armor.
and to be specific, so the subsystems would be damaged just purely like if it like how would that play out in your mind if there wasn't any like RNG? So if you shot a turret, it would just like disable it on the first shot, or like how
No,
might that work?
it would have to be specific angles that you would get. For example, in like World of Tanks, if you like, how you get that replay of how the tank shell penetrates another tank, it's guaranteed to have a certain effect.
Oh wait, I think you're actually referring to War Thunder. That is the system it has.
War Thunder World Tank, I don't know, somewhere I've seen it.
No, I play War Thunder, and if you're referring to like how you get killed by and shows you who kills you, that's War Thunder. World Tanks does not do that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's whatever game that is, but yeah.
So there will be no RNG at all. Like, you hit a turret, it's gonna like disable it on the first shot. Is that kind of or past some threshold? I'm assuming, is that
Yeah,
kind of how you're...
in some way, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I expand more about this. I think if you're playing the engineer, you should get like, imagine if you're playing the engineer on a battle tank, you get a diagram of your tank, and you can see and each part
War
of the
Thunder.
tank has.
That's this what you're just asking for, War Thunder.
No,
Thunder?
You see each part of your tank, and it shows like it's like each part of the tank has like a little different color and depending on how damaged it is. So take for example, you shoot the turret might become damaged, and you can see, okay, the turret's damaged. Like, you can see how damaged the turret is.
Well, I guess the devs might have opted more for just a more visual, a more immersive visual feedback as opposed to a chart or a map. But hey, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll
but
see if it necessitated.
I wanna cut it short because I feel bad for the people above because there's so many. But just to summarize, pretty much everything I said is that RNG just makes it so that we just optimize the die roll, and instead of using our skill and spotting and gunning to do certain plays, it's literally we just can't do that anymore, and then it's just going to play out the same way, which is optimizing in every situation. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I guess that's just part of the wider feedback. Hey, Wolfie, thank you so much. You always got an interesting take on things, especially on writing stuff on Reddit and whatnot. But Wolfie, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers.
Have a good one. All right, coming up next, the gentleman who gave us Nitro, who gave us the big old boost. I didn't even ask for it. He just gave it to me one day. Foxy, ladies and gentlemen. Foxy, welcome back to Zero Dark Press Corps. You're live on the air. What do you have for us?
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. We can hear you.
Oh, cool. Brilliant. Yeah, hi Mark. Just wanted to talk on, actually just touch on some of the points that Wolfie made, which I thought were really good. Just in vehicles in general. I know you're probably sick of the whole alts and cheats conversation, so we're trying to stay off that. But I do think I think RNG is in general is a bad thing for Foxhole. I think
Overall.
it's yeah, just in all the implementations we've seen of it, they just feel too punishing, sort of thing. Like you know, RNG in the tech center, for example, and RNG when we had that one update where we had the you know the prototype system which kind of came in and then went away with all the research items. Especially in armor, I totally agree with what Wolfie said. I think the sooner we can get a system that you know has kind of very accurate on the models of tank, but you know kind of you can be sure that if you hit that right part of the turret, it's going to disable it. If you build a battle tank and you put APU shells in and you hit a turret, you know, if you've got that accuracy and you've put that time in, I think you should be kind of guaranteed a turret disable sort of thing. One thing I found really difficult using tanks this war is that there's no visual indicator of when your armor is gone. So you just need to kind of know that it's gone. And also the lack of vehicle factories or garages has made it really hard to use tanks this war. So I guess one question would be, do you have plans to put more garages on the map for the next war?
I don't think necessarily there's plans for the next war, but one thing I'll say is that this is version 1 of this new vehicle system, where what we were playing before was version many of the previous vehicle system. And you know, we're coming around to the second week of the war. We're coming off dealing with a lot of other, as you know, like issues, both technical and on the moderation side of it. So we're gonna sit down and we're gonna look at all the feedback, and I think everything that you guys are saying is very valuable to us right now, because you know it's sort of like we've come out of the trenches of dealing with all these other issues, and sort of the next wave is to the next wave of work is to take a look at all these things. So I think everything you guys are saying are things that we're going to sit down and talk about, and then hopefully in the next update, I can't say for sure how soon some of these things are going to be actioned, and if they're going to be actioned. But yeah, I mean, if the garage is I guess my question is, that must be coming from a frustration. Like, is that coming from a frustration over not being able to repair your armor? Is that
Yeah. So
the issue there?
I mean, the game is inherently difficult in that there's not a lot of details surfaced about things. So, for example, we don't know how much HP the different tanks have. I've heard that Colonial tanks have more health but less armor. Warden tanks are inverted, so they have sort of lower health pool.
Is this just vagueness on information in general?
Yeah, in a way, but obviously we know from Dev Branch that you can't repair armor in the field, and we also know that if your armor is repaired, you've got a much higher chance of deflecting shots. So when you start taking shots and everything penetrates and you get tracked all the time and your turret gets disabled all the time, you know your armor's gone. So you know that it's probably not wise to take on an engagement, especially against like the Warden tanks, which has got like a 45 to 50 meter effective range, like the Flood Ascension. It's basically like a death wish. So it's
quick, about the armor idea. I actually do have a suggestion. Maybe as like a visual indicator for how damaged your tank is. Bullet holes appear into your tank.
I mean, I don't doubt that'd be quite a technical challenge, because we've got all these new vehicle models anyway, but then to have a separate system that kind of shows like progressive damage to I'm not an animator or a modeler or a rig or anything like that. So
I do want to comment on that, if I may. I actually think that is one of the lesser challenging things that we would implement, and I think it's a cool idea. Just to sort of throw in my 2 cents there.
It'd be great if we could, just take a look at a tank and say, right, the front armor's gone, because I can see it exposed, the armor plates come off, so we need to not get hit in the face. sort of thing.
Audio cues
that would
too.
be, yeah, anything like that. Just like we already have the great status icons for being tracked, or the fuel tank gone, or the turret disabled. If we could have one that just was like a broken shield to indicate, yeah, your armor's gone, so go and repair. It would be a huge quality of life change, and I think it would help people get used to this new system as well, because it is quite confusing, especially for the amount of new people that come in. I've seen a lot of tanks crewed by like kind of low rank people, and they were just not aware of the armor system at all. So they were kind of taking a tank that was totally bereft of armor up against stuff, and they were just getting clapped. And it's not enjoyable for people, to get into this game and to sort of grind over a tank and then lose it straight. Lose it straight away. But anything like that would be really good. I did have a couple more questions, time permitting.
I'll get a couple more.
Cool. I want to ask Mark specifically what his what is the Ballista for, in your opinion?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think a lot of the complaints that we heard was that the range isn't far enough, right? And I think one of our goals is that we don't want every vehicle to be the same, right? And I think players often see something and they want to just they see something like the siege tank and they want to sort of be able to shoot it from like far away, kind of like a mortar. In terms of what we wanted to do is we wanted this tank to be definitely for taking down structures, right? So it can take out any garrison house, 3rd tier, in 2 hits. Every garrison house, some garrison houses have less health, so I'll just sort of say that it doesn't matter what garrison house is. 2 hits are going to take out any of them, and we wanted to do that in a way that wasn't just going to be exactly the same as any other type of like anti-structure vehicle, like a field artillery, because it's like that's really boring to us, right? Like making everything the same. And I think that's our goal. Whether we achieve it or not, I think that I think the siege tank came out maybe a day or 2 ago. I think it was a prototype on Sunday, if I'm correct. So it's been out in the field for about 2 days, and I'm sure that you guys have had some firsthand experience with it. But I think we'd like to look at the data and have a bit more testing to see whether or not we reach that goal. And if we don't, then we'll make some adjustments. But really, that's what we're trying to do. So if you have feedback for us, what we want to know is how do we achieve that, making this an anti-structure tank without just making it the same as a battle tank with there's no HE shells in the game anymore. But as an example, like just not making it the same like that, or not making it the same as the field artillery. Because we don't want every vehicle to feel the same, right?
I agree, and again, that's quite visible to people that while trying to put a lot of specificity into different vehicles. But it feels personally that the Ballista at the moment it's trying to, rather than have one defined role, it feels like it's kind of trying to do 2 and failing at both, sort of thing. So right now it's only ever anti-structure, but it's very very specific anti-structure, and that is because it's always going to be in aggro range of the garrison house unless you hit the side that doesn't have a window, which is you can't always guarantee that. It either needs to be sort of like super heavily armored so it can go up and tank these shots and then 2-shot the garrison house and come back. Obviously touching on what I've previously said about once its armor's gone, you've got to then drive this thing that is slow as hell to the nearest garage to repair the armor to then go on again. So it's kind of like, it feels like it either needs to be able to outrange the garrison house and be lightly armored like an FA, and I know then we're getting into the whole discussion of but then it's just basically a bigger FA with less range.
Yeah, like what's have you had a chance to use it in this war yet?
I used it on Dev Branch, and then I haven't actually seen one on the front yet.
Has it changed? Has it changed from Dev Branch to the actual War 59?
It did one shot T3 houses, didn't it, for a day on Dev Branch, and then it went to
yeah, there was a funny
two-shot.
bug. There was a funny bug with that where it was using the incorrect damage type for longest time, so we kept increasing the damage to fix it, and then we realized later the damage type was incorrect, and at one point it was one-shotting a lot of buildings. But what I would like to do, what would be really helpful is after you get a chance to use it in a war, in a real situation, we want to hear more about it, because the thing is, we added so many variants in this update, and the only way we're going to tune these is that we hear more feedback from actual real war experience, right? So hopefully you can get your hands on it at some point, and yeah, we can get more feedback.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Foxy, awesome questions as always. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
No problem. Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
And you guys, cheers.
All right, coming up next, the usual suspects, and we got another one here on the lineup. Terrento joining us once again here on Zero Dark PressCorps, our mid-War 59 episode. Terrento, how are you?
Hello, I'm back. Did you guys miss me?
I think we did.
Missed you very much.
Anyways, since the last time was so successful, I brought a new script today. So, same idea. 2 questions and 1 bonus one. Okay, question number 1. I know that we can't take premature conclusions just yet, but it's just this update brought so many players that it's just insane. We even hit 2,000 players, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, there were 2,200 players.
At peak, that's a peak number.
At peak, yeah.
Number. So anyway, but one of the things that this gave us the opportunity is that we saw how much balance issues that came with this. The developers needed to add more refineries and factories, so and stuff like that.
Yes. Is there a question? Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, I'm going to ask the question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rush you.
I
missed. Sorry.
It's okay. So the question is did this give the developers more insight on the game, on how it's currently balanced, and can we expect maybe an upgrade to servers so more players can be housed at the same time?
Yeah, so I think what we always look at is in terms of server capacity. Like I was saying earlier, we want to build a world for what the normal population is, and obviously 2,200 is not a normal population. I discussed the update cycle on the past stream, and this, we're gonna see a similar cycle this time, right? And our goal right now, as nice as these numbers are, our goal isn't let's just get as many sales as we can right now. Despite, yeah, that's not our goal right now. Our goal right now is how can we figure out these problems so that at 1.0 we don't need to change the game fundamentally as much, right? We can start to cut down on the real big changes. So in terms of scaling, and I guess I'll answer the balance question. I think we were caught off guard with these balance changes, and I think it was an oversight of ours, not preparing for scaling up the resources and scaling up production.
The prototypes.
Yeah.
Were you expecting the battle tank to appear as early as it did?
I don't think it appeared that early, actually. I mean, I'll hear from you guys. I'd like to hear what you guys think, but I think a lot of players felt at the beginning that the texture was moving slow.
Well, for the people who wanted battle tanks, it'll always be slow. But anyway, I'm sorry. I digress.
But scaling, I think we did have a problem on the item side, on the item tech tree, that ended up going way faster than we thought. So, like, you are right. There was a scaling issue there, just not for the vehicles. But I think we were caught off guard, and I think we could have done a better job in like scaling, in anticipating this and scaling for it. I think scaling. I know I've used that word like a million times in this stream, but I think that's always been a problem, right? Like, how do you scale a game like this that can go all the way from like 400 players all the way to 2200 players? Because you have an entirely different set of problems. At 2200 players, you're dealing with queues, you're dealing with scaling your moderation. At 400 population, you start dealing with other problems like player imbalance, and things of that sort, and things like night swings and such. It's very difficult. So yeah, we could be doing better for sure.
Terrento, I know we went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No. I actually like what Mark said. It was. I mean, I sometimes I can understand like the difficulty that can come, but it's just that it can sometimes be a problem. So, like you said, sometimes 400 people are playing, and then an update comes, 2,000 people come back, the servers are all in queues, but then like I was concerned about the little detail of more players wanting to join, but then they can't because the servers are at max. So they get frustrated and don't play as much. And the guys that have the opportunity to play that come early, eventually they get bored. And now we have two chunks of players that don't want to play, and then the pop drops. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you're thinking like a developer now, which is great. I'm glad you understand that. I'm glad you understand that problem. And like, I agree. It's a problem that's exactly what we're always worried about. And I think that what we need to do is a better job at predicting where the ceiling of these spikes are. I think this time we were fine because we didn't feel like the lack of capacity blocked more players from coming in. I think at around 2000 we started to hit peak regardless of capacity, and it went a little bit over that to 2200, but we didn't feel like it was trying to. There are times in the past when we felt like, man, we really hit the limit, and we had to open up some practice servers, and in those cases we definitely felt like we probably lost some players who came in and they weren't able to participate in the war. This time I think we were like almost just at the limit of hitting that problem, but we felt like it started to go past the peak before we did. So it's I'm glad you're worried about that. It's definitely an issue.
I mean, yeah. Hearing that from you is actually kind of honorable because I want to be a game developer myself. So if I'm getting like confirmation from a veteran that I'm doing things right, hey, I'm happy.
Yeah, as long as you're okay with being stressed out 24/7, then you should be game.
If every player just thought like a dev, no one would have fun. Okay, Terrento, thank you so much for joining us once again. Were those all your questions?
Yeah. Actually, I had two more questions, but since we ran out of time,
we stretched that first one out a lot.
Yeah. I think I'll just skip to the last one. Yeah. Okay. So you see, a good strategy for a successful game is a balance between the developer's vision and the community wants. So, like, in order to make the player base happier, in upcoming wars, at least in War 69, can we expect enemy girls and fox people to the Warden and Colonials respectively?
Say that last part again. Say that last part again.
Yeah.
At least for War 69, can we expect anime girls and Foxhole like fox people models in the game?
I thought it was a real question.
Furries. If we get that, give the anime to the Wardens because we all know 99% of Warden players are weebs, and we all know 99% of Colonial players are furries.
It's all you wearaboos. You're wearaboos. I don't know what that's about.
No, Spots, that's a lie. Not all. There's only you that's a fucking furry, Spots.
They have to bring up FF. FF is back from the dead.
Okay. Well, I can answer that, which is that all wardens are anime wereabouts and all colonials are furries. There you go. That's your answer. No one's happy. All right, Terrento, thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead, argue it out. Terrento, thank you so much for joining us again. We love your questions. We love your presence. We love your voice. Thank you so much.
I love you guys too.
See ya.
Thanks.
See ya.
All right, coming up next, an old friend. Where the roads keep coming and the roads keep going ever on. Roads go ever on. Welcome back to Zero Dark PressCorps. Long time no see.
Yeah, right back at you, Mr. Jennings. Markfoot, hello, everyone else from PressCorps. Hey, how's it going?
I'm good.
Pretty good.
So, I got one of the things I want to bring up, and a lot of people that have been calling in are pointing out very valid balance points in the game and concerns and things like that. I want to bring us back on a more wholesome track just for a little bit, and I got a question or two to kind of follow up with it. So I guess to start, I just want to fawn over again, like a lot of us have been. There are so many people that are playing in this war, and it's so great to see so many new players in here, so many old veterans coming back, and just the amount of people that are actually in here. It's starting to the long-term vision of the large-scale war is really coming into fruition, and I am seriously enjoying coming back to play after a bit of a long hiatus and seeing that there's all these people that are playing as well. I think it's absolutely great.
Same here. To be able to process as many stories as I don't know how many stories we've released on the newswire. Those flashes, those printer, teletype things, and there's plenty more that we haven't even gotten around to form. It's literally just formatting, and it's so fun to see. I guess the natural question is after that, enjoy it while it lasts, because in about a month the pops may drop again. But hey, again, enjoy it while it lasts. I'm glad you're back as well.
Thank you. Yeah, honestly, like I've like many like old veterans, I heard a lot of the changes that were coming in, wanted to check them out.
Came back, got
on top of
mad,
that,
left
there's a
again.
sale.
It's great.
Well, on top of that, like I also had a couple like real life friends who are like, yeah, if it ever goes on sale again, I'll check it out. So this is like the perfect opportunity to get a whole bunch of people who weren't into Foxhole back in there because of a sale, because of a big update. And that's actually kind of that pivots into one of the things I wanted to talk about, which was new players joining a big complex system like Foxhole. Like I said, I had a bunch of friends that were coming in, and I can sit and take all the time in the world to explain things to them and how the whole thing works. Um, the one major thing I was super worried about with coming back in and relearning old or I guess like adjusting to new mechanics from my old knowledge, or uh, almost as equally like a new player coming in and learning mechanics for the first time, was worrying that how to put this, Foxhole is a large scale game in many ways, and one thing that I have been worried about and still am worried about is that it is too, I don't say too large of a scale for new people to fully comprehend, but it's a pretty unique game. So I guess a concern in the back of my head is, oh, is this too niche of a game? Is this too uh, complex of a system for a new player to come in, kind of look at everything that's going on and say, oh, this is too much work. I don't want to, I did not intend to take a class to learn a logistic system or something like that, and then go hop off to something else. And
You wouldn't want to take a class because it's probably all going to be useless in about 3 months' time anyway when everything changes. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Of the early access thought always in the back of your head, for better and worse. Um, Though honestly, you guys, especially with this patch, I'd say definitely for the better. Absolutely. Um, that little tangent aside, those fears have been abated with this particular patch, because there is an overwhelming amount of support for the new players that are coming in. And this is a bit of like the wholesome that I want to bring back to you, Markfoot specifically, because yeah, all the criticisms that were coming up between alting and map balance, vehicle balance, tech balance, all that stuff aside, there are a lot of people in game who are eager to play and eager to try things out. And there are a lot of veterans who are taking time out of their day and not being salty about it to have new players come along and do what they're doing so that they can learn, to take some time out of whatever they were doing to teach a new player what's going on in game. And first off, I wanted to like throw that out there, like aside from all the negativity that might get thrown around in uh, the Foxhole official Discord, the subreddit, wherever else, there's still a lot of support and positivity for new players that are coming in, and it's something I'm still kind of like fawning over a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, people get off on it, which is, just they get invigorated by it, which is, teaching new people, and just the rush of seeing 10 unranked or privates line up. Actually, no, all unranked line up at the tutorial island, and just like listening to a veteran, talk about the game, hopefully in a good way. But not to let it slip by here, but Rhodes was in charge of the Foxhole Community Boot Camp many years ago, in the ancient times of 2 years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I was part of that too, and we tried to codify it. But honestly, when the tutorial, before there was a tutorial, but it was the most bare bones thing. Now it's got a little bit more calcium, but yeah, that was a good time. I remember making that trailer. That was a lot of fun.
Oh my god, and that trailer is still up on. I should probably find the link and post that because that was a really well made trailer for.
Yeah, post it in the
a
Twitch.
good cause. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess as much as we would love to, and we absolutely should, talk about the vets who dedicate their time to teaching new people. At the end of the day, also there does need to be a tutorial. And kind of just not just a tutorial, but the new player experience. So I guess I'll sneak a question here for you on your behalf, which is, Mark, can you talk about the new player experience, specifically what is lacking? We all kind of have an answer to that, but how can you describe what is lacking for the new player experience? Not just tutorial, but just the experience.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of, besides like the big things, like you're saying, the lack of a tutorial and certain mechanics that are really kind of, you got to do a lot of like digging to figure out. I think um, there's a lot of little things. I actually like looking at the little things, and both things that we've solved already that don't get a lot of attention once they're solved, but they were problems at one point for players that are new. An example of this is the deployment system, right? Like, I think a lot of people kind of gloss over things that are just working. And
that was actually a huge, not to cut you off, but that was actually a very substantial change that changed map flow. And that's the thing, when it works, everyone goes, okay, good, and then just does it. Whereas, we're harping on moderator issues, which is good. We should continue to harp on moderator issues and not let that slide by. But at the same time, yeah, you got a good point, which is that if it works, no one talks about it.
Exactly. And there are other issues that are kind of hidden that we see. Like, as an example, we changed the maps in a way, but there are things hidden in those map changes that are beyond, things that are improvements for the veterans or maybe not improvements. But for example, like, we removed a lot of the bases, or practically all of the bases that were standalone on like an island. And like, one of the problems that we see is that when a border, when a region is locked down, or rather a region is contested, but it's only contested because there's one base there, that is on an isolated like island, right? Like sort of the old uh, um, Tempest Island. you would have that little bit at the top that would be usually owned by the wardens. There's like new players during sales. A lot of new players would spawn there when all the other regions were locked down, and we'd see them. They'd be running around the island, not knowing how to build a motorboat, not knowing what to do. They'd just be literally running around the perimeter of the island, and I think a good subset of them are probably like, "What is this game? I'm just running around for half an hour doing nothing, and I can't get off this island," right? So I think there's a lot of these little things that, like, it's not visible to like the veterans. They don't see these as issues, but definitely a new player coming in, it'd be extremely frustrating, right? And I think that we we have in the past relied on, like, hey, hopefully this player thinks that this concept is cool enough that they're going to give this a chance. Anything, and but oh, okay, this is what I have to do. I actually don't go to where the map is telling me to go. I need to go somewhere else, right? So I think there's a lot of these little small issues that might be frustrating. So I think that's a good place to start. That's definitely a part that is missing. Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, small. I mean, obviously, a concerted tutorial is something that cannot be tackled. This has been repeated time and time again. Cannot be tackled until, I guess, 1.0, right? Because when things are solidified fundamentally.
Plus, like, yeah, exactly. Like, one of our goals is, we're going to continue to change things after 1.0, but one of our goals is to not change it as frequently and not always be okay. Now the whole game is different in this update.
I guess 1.0 is when you make a game and you don't need to alter the tutorial that much anymore. You can actually have a solid tutorial. I guess that's one of the markers, right?
Yes,
that's a fair marker.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. We'll continue going on here. Rhodes, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate the old stories. We miss you.
Yeah.
If you ever want to join the press corps, if you're ever gonna want to get involved in people shouting at you and shooting at you again, please join us.
Very tempting.
Yeah.
Do I have a chance for one more smaller question that
Smaller,
I think
smaller.
is fairly important? Okay, and this I'll direct right at Markfoot and just jump right in. So we're talking about queues in individual regions and stuff. To give an example, sometime last week there was a Colonial naval insertion into Weathered Expanse. That got bogged down with a 13-person queue, which my first thought was, oh my god, we have a 13-person queue. This is great. And the second thought was, we're going to have to bus people in from Viper Pit. We started doing that, and one thing I'm worried about is part of queues building up in regions will include partisan attacks at borders to keep people out, which starts becoming a balance issue. If you can't have people spawn in and you can't have people drive in from another region, how do you as a developer kind of view that as far as like war balancing? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, a weird part of me, this is a bit of a sidebar, but a weird part of me think it's kind of cool that you're trying to get your reinforcements in and the enemy's stopping you. But that
Super
very
cool.
niche point aside, um, I think ideally it's like we wouldn't have the queue, right? And I think that the main, it's a concern, 100%. And I think we, we want to increase the server capacity more than what it is right now. That's like the simple solution, is to do that, and I think we are going to continue to chip away at that problem, right? And I don't know if it's a gameplay, if it's a gameplay issue, we have to figure out some sort of a gameplay way to deal with these awkward like border issues that we have, right? Because that's not the only like border issue. There's a bunch of other like border issues that we have, and we are going to change those. So I don't have like that specific an answer, because this is the first time I've actually heard that as a piece of feedback. So I have to think about that, if I have to be honest. It's a new
Please
piece
do.
of insight.
It's a concern that I kind of realized as I was bussing into that particular engagement. I'm like, what if we hit partisans on the way? And I'm like, oh, what if that becomes standard operating procedure? You have like a big organized push, and then you have just 2 or 3 partisans disabling vehicles on the way in. in order to, for lack of a better word, abuse the queue system on the enemy faction.
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of lessens it's an issue. So don't get me wrong, it's 100% an issue. One thing that is maybe makes it not as bad is that the number of players that are allowed into a region are always the same for both the factions. Like there is no, it's always like if it's, for example, we don't control. It'd be very bad if we did, but we basically have like a population limit that goes up and down, varies depending on server performance. And if it's 100 down to 80, that means there's 90 colonials allowed, 90 wardens. So even if that happens, at least it's happening knowing that it's there's, if people are coming in from the home region, they're going to be able to fill all those slots, and it's going to be a 50-50 battle, right? So, but having said that, I do see where the issue is, or at least I see where the concern is.
Rhodes, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you guys for putting on this great program. Keep up the amazing work, all of you.
Have a good one. All right, coming up next, WARCORP. WARCORP, how's business doing on the front?
Hey, everything's all right. But anyways, I mean, I don't know what to talk about, but I think I had
You've had this all this time.
Well, of course, I thought of something brewing, of course, which was an expansion of the Foxhole world.
Like, oh, okay. We got some more stuff coming here.
And Valley and whatever. Funny enough.
Hey, go for it. I'll give you a bit of time to talk about if you wanna inject some lore. Maybe Matt's listening. He's probably not. And
Matt,
I'm sure Mark can listen to this and then go.
Yeah,
maybe you can trick him.
Maybe how cool would it be if I just expanded the world building a bit?
Yeah, trick him into thinking this is actual lore. Mix it in with the real lore, and he'll believe it. Go ahead.
Like, for example, wait, hold on, Mark.
Did you just snap at him?
Wake
up!
Take your medicine yet?
Sorry, I can't hear Mark on the other side. That's all.
Yeah, I kind of missed the question there. Sorry.
Oh, there it is. There you go. Sorry, I thought your mic broke, Mark. That's all. But anyways, I think one of the ideas is that one of the first things I would do would probably go into the domestics of the colonials, like the colonial empire, for example, and then the domestics of the Sevish. Like, for example, what factions dominate the Senate of Masaya or Veli, for example? And what would the politics around that be like? Would there be a consul? Would it be like a Roman Republic or something like that? Like, what would be the elements of each of these countries, for example?
The Senate.
Yeah, I think this is a conversation that I would really want to have together.
Oh yeah, I actually thought maybe it would be cool if I were to get a bit of a world building team together and maybe put out a few notes saying, oh, well, here's the results of a Senate election. Like, for example, like the PressCorps could possibly cooperate with this. Like,
okay.
For example, let's say that there is a group. I'm just gonna go with the Optimates and the what is it? There were two factions in the Roman Senate: the Optimates and the Populares.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, so let's say, like a few Masayan Senate elections, for example, like in newspapers, like let's say the Populares won a Senate election, like some Senate seats and gained a majority in the Senate.
I know when I interpret the lore is that the first thing I interpreted when I first found out about, before even going into what was confirmed or not, I first interpreted that, okay, colonials, well, whenever you have colonies, there's bound to be some consternation between those colonies. Who's in control? Who is the subject? I think by now, Valaeans and Masayans are well integrated into each other's societies, but there's still something there underneath that can fester, which in real history we know, if those things aren't settled, if those things aren't solved, they will fester and they will pop up again. So I've always personally, like, maybe this doesn't fit with what you're trying to do, but I've always personally liked to accentuate kind of the tensions internally between Messians and Valayans. Now, granted, they all hate Sevish, right? Everyone, they all hate Siva, but
I'd like to. Eventually, I would like to do something like that. Like maybe a few, let's just say, ethnic tensions between Valayans and Messians.
I've written some lore. I've written some unconfirmed lore about that Matt has never seen, but
But that would be cool to go into.
Nick Nevin too. Nick Nevin, the potential, which Nick Nevin's not even a part of the Wardens, so they're a completely different country.
Yeah, once I write a few pieces about that, eventually I would like to go outside of your Siva and Veli Messiah. Like maybe there's a few more countries. Let's say there's a large empire of, let's just say, Chinese-esque culture, East Asian culture.
Even better, Japanese, and we can finally all the weeaboos can finally get their home.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Mark, third faction confirmed.
Fucking have it for honor.
Actually, serious question: has there ever been thought, as much of a massive overhaul that would be in terms of lore, world building, and just functionality of the game, has there actually been thought towards another faction? Actual question.
I would actually love to see that, so I could actually help build that world.
Have it like for honor, where we have the samurai, the Vikings.
Like I find, for example, I find the Mandate of Heaven to be a really interesting concept myself. Like, for those who don't know the Mandate of Heaven, it's essentially an old Chinese thing.
Yeah.
A new dynasty comes to power after an old one gets decrepit and corrupt, and then eventually the new dynasty gets old and that becomes decrepit and corrupt. Then supposedly what's supposed to happen: floods, natural disasters, famines, plague, things like that. Then a new dynasty, that means that the old dynasty has lost the Mandate of Heaven, thus a new dynasty comes and challenges it, the old dynasty, and the new dynasty then overthrows the old dynasty, and the cycle continues on and on.
Yeah, that's a thought. Hey, Mark, about the third faction, though, has there been any thought given to that?
I think besides the lore, when it comes up on the gameplay side, it sort of comes up on the team. Like, wouldn't that be cool? But then it's definitely in the priority of things, or all the fish that we have to fry. It's probably not something that we're going to do anytime soon. I think in terms of the lore, like what we've always said when we sat down to think about the lore at the beginning, we always said, okay, it has to feel like a real history to us. It has to be something. So I was one credit short of being like a history minor back in college, and when I sat down to talk to Matt, I'm like, I want, like, when we talk about the lore, it should feel like a history lecture. And I think the issue with just injecting a third faction is, how do we do that in this framework where it doesn't feel like a forced thing in the way that, you know, in movies, when they suddenly...
A few ideas I had for the lore would be, Mark, let's say, I'm gonna bring up the Chinese dynasty example.
Absolutely. This is everything you say now will be in the game. Go for it.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you 60 seconds, starting now.
All right. Let's say there is an emperor, for example, of this dynasty, and he says something to the effect of, "Well, congratulations on unlocking this technology, this brilliant new technology." For example, I believe and let's say it was referring to the first ballistic missile ever launched, which I believe was at Spade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Let's say this emperor, I'm just gonna call him Emperor Yui for
Yui Emperor.
Yeah, I said it in Twitch chat.
Who launched Yui Emperor? Who launched the missile at Jade Cove in War 19? Okay, yeah, sure, that's not charged. Go ahead.
My God, he congratulated the Colonials on the destruction of Spade.
Did I just say Bolognios?
Oh my gosh. Hey, oh wait, WARCORP. I'm sorry. I think we're at time, but hey, WARCORP, write all this stuff up. Write it like a storybook, like as if you were around a campfire, and I'd read that. I would read that on air, maybe. I don't know, but I would read it.
Yeah, but still, I think a world. Yeah, I think the Foxhole world building thing would be. There's a lot of potential in it.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think Matt's left that open to a lot of things. Can't dedicate to it because don't go too hard that you expect it to happen and then you get disappointed when it's not. But certainly a lot there.
It's just a single world building project, but it'd still be cool nonetheless.
Hey, WARCORP, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
have a good one.
Hey, add something real quick if you don't mind.
Can you wait until after? Okay, I think you're next in the after this one.
Yep.
All right, so this one is going to be a big one. I think this might be a lot of our Q people here. Is everyone in the Warden Navy that going to go off the screen? I think we're actually going to move the PressCorps members out. I'm sorry, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna go there now to let's put them in C. But anyway, I don't know who wants to take this from Warden Navy, but welcome back to Zero Dark PressCorps. How are you doing all tonight?
Hey, thank you. We're doing great. Great to be back. Great to talk to you again, Geoffrey. Great to be here. Talk to Mark again. Really excited.
Is this Von Klaus? Is this Von Klaus speaking?
Yeah, this is Von Klaus. Yep.
Okay.
One of the leaders of Warden Navy. First thing, I just want to start off and just tell Mark how much we love this new update, and I think you really knocked it out of the park. Where of course there's going to be a lot of little tweaking needs to be done. I think this update is phenomenal. The new vehicles, the new farming mechanics, the tech tree. It's all very dynamic. It adds a lot more layers of strategy, and I just want to say thank you as a player of this game for this update because it's wonderful.
Thanks. That's really great to hear.
We were only saying this because we were bribed with a gunboat, of course.
Yeah, the new double gunboat is pretty sweet. Not gonna lie, we like that. But I mean, even the Colonial vehicles we really enjoy too.
We actually did think of you guys when we added that variant, just to slide in a note there. So.
And we really appreciate that. And it feels like a lot of the vehicles. That was one question I wanted to ask you. It feels like a lot of the vehicles seem like maybe were made for certain groups or how the factions play a little bit, and I didn't know if that was maybe went into your guys' thinking.
Not too much. I mean, I think we tried to dictate it more with the theming because I always say this that we're always trying to make it feel like you're part of a real war. Obviously, we have to worry about things like game balance, and we don't just want to give all a certain type of vehicle to one side and not the other. So the game balance thing is always tough. But what our goal is to try to get the feeling, at least, that the sides are unique, and then the game balance we try to follow it with that, right?
Yeah, makes sense. I really like the tech tree and kind of the balance of it, and where it gives us the options to pick, get better later or early. Was there a lot of thought when you guys were putting that together, where certain things would go, and how was that? How'd you guys kind of come up with that?
Yeah, so with the tech tree, one thing that I hope people saw, and I know that it was talked about in various places, and we had it in the patch notes, but it is intended to change very frequently, right? And a part of that is that we're going to continue to add new vehicle variants on a regular basis. And what really the goal behind the tech tree, at least a part of it, is this feeling like when you're historically in a real war, it wasn't entirely predicted at the beginning. There's some sense of okay, now the enemy is throwing this type of tank at us. We weren't expecting it now, or this is something new. We weren't expecting it at this point in the war. And I think we're trying to capture some of that. Now, this is a big challenge. I'm not saying that this goal has been reached. I think we have a lot of work ahead of us. I think that there's a whole lot of feedback we're going to get about the balance of the tech tree, which we're going to have to sort through. So this is version 1. There's going to be issues, but our goal when we come out of this is this feeling like on a regular basis, it's not this highly predictable. Okay, I know that the war started on Monday. On Wednesday, we're going to see this vehicle. On Friday, we're going to see light tank. Like, what we want to change it from that to like, okay, we don't know what might happen on Friday. Maybe it's going to be a new vehicle that comes out that we haven't even seen before.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the goal, and it's too soon to know how far we've reached that goal. But hopefully, we'll get your guys' feedback, and then
I can tell you firsthand that at least I know when the Wardens got battle tanks, the Colonials didn't believe we even had them first thing. It was like a complete shock that when we rushed for that tech. I know that was definitely a feel, and it was definitely like a big scare when they got the HMG APC. That was just like there was no counter for that until we got the AT half track. And I really love that from like a clan leader's perspective and working with other clans to devise, the strategy that you're going to come up with for the tech. As a group, kind of as a faction, kind of to decide that what you need to do to be able to counter or press the other side to counter you. So I really love that, and I really hope that you guys really keep adding to that, because that really adds a strategic layer that kind of makes every war unique. And like you said, it really didn't feel cookie cutter this war. You didn't know when to expect almost anything or any kind of attack.
Yeah, and I think something that I first of all, that's extremely great to hear. I think second of all is that this is something that also requires more things to be in the tech tree, and like the other side of the tech tree as well, the item side is just almost like to us right now. It's a bit of a stand-in almost. Like it needs to be filled with more things because right now it's like I do think that after a couple of wars, of course, this feeling it's not going to be as strong anymore because um, people are going to have played with the new content. So what we're going to try to do is to update these things on a regular basis, and it might take a while. I guess I'm almost giving like a forewarning that like this is something that is going to be tricky to maintain, and people might be bored in like a war or two, and that's something that we're sort of expecting to some degree, but we want to try to mitigate it by having even more content on a regular basis, right?
A bit of a question in regards to that. Is there plans to keep on, I guess the word is tweaking the tech tree, and also is there plans to randomize it at times? Because that's something that I thought was the case, but I could be wrong. But then I would be interested to see different variations of the tech tree.
Yes. Yeah, that is 100% the plan, is to change the tech tree each war if possible. I wouldn't use the word random because I think I think you guys like
it might be dangerous.
That would be dangerous to make it random. So I don't think we'd make it random, but I think what we want to do is see interesting trade-offs. So one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at where the the trade-offs were very clear cut. Like, okay, there wasn't really a contention here. Everybody was choosing this vehicle instead of that one. Then maybe we want to take that lesser used vehicle and put it against something else that was lesser used. So then a more interesting choice can be made there, right?
Makes sense, yeah. So, what kind of naval variants can maybe we could look forward to, or have you guys thought of anything else like for that? Because of course, that's probably the thing we're most interested in. Although I really enjoy like all the variants of the tanks, and just playing with the different types of battle tanks is just unique to see how they drive slightly different, or the turret rotates slightly different. That all is a lot of fun.
And if I may interject a little bit on that, kind of expanding, is that are we going to see, is the gunboat going to be the base in which all variants of Seacraft are going to kind of jump off of, or are we going to see the next step in, above the gunboat, the next evolution in whatever vehicle, kind of like light tank to battle tank, gunboat to blank? I know I'm asking for confirmation of something, but can you comment on that?
That's a great question.
So I think for water, that's something that like water and naval, like that's something that we always have to hold ourselves back from working on. And I know maybe that's not what you want to hear, but it's because it's really like exciting for us, and we're always dreaming up like, oh, what's the future? What's the future of naval in Foxhole? And we have crazy ideas on where that can go. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot more. I would say like boring type of systems that we have to work on, and not to drag it back to some of the less exciting topics, but thing uh, things like moderation, like the communication tools, and that sort of stuff. And I think so. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably we we want to expand on the water part of the game a whole bunch, and I think we've shown that by adding the seaport and streamlining things like running a logi line through water, making that not as frustrating. So that is clearly something that's really exciting to us, making the beach landings a lot more robust. But I think that there are a lot of things that are like ahead of the line, and we might not get to some of that exciting stuff that soon, if I have to be perfectly honest. But we are really excited about it, and I think that if we were sort of not being responsible about it, we would probably jump and work on a lot of that content like now.
In a war.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just make variations of the gunboat, it didn't have to be a completely different boat. But like, even if you made one with two 14.5, or you put, a 40 millimeter on the gun, or something like that, where the boats are coming head to head, I think would make things a lot more interesting. I think I would be remiss without asking about this from the rest of my clan. They probably would give me a hard time. What did you guys think of our invasion of Tempest, and how we could flip that region? I think that was probably one of the bigger ops so far in the game's history, based on the current population of the game.
Yeah, I think that was very hard to pull off, because one of the things that's extremely tough right now is that no regions are being taken by a player in balance. they're 50-50.
Yeah, no PV.
Right?
There's no PV right now. Yeah,
there's no PVE at the massive, like at these fronts, right? So anytime an invasion force comes in, especially like a naval one, like the reactionary force usually takes them like 10-20 minutes before it gets flooded with the other faction's side. They start flooding in. So I think taking over Tempest Island was very hard because of that, and kind of like doubly so because it was a larger region. So it was definitely, I think, like we didn't get any specific footage of it, unfortunately. But I like just seeing what's been happening. We obviously watched like the regions very closely. I think it did have like an impact, definitely like a huge impact on the war. So
It did.
Yeah.
It actually managed to take the rush, which we had PressCorps reporters on the ground covering it, and the rush and the overwatch of those bridges. First of all, getting a foothold on that central landmass was no easy feat, because that you actually, Von Klaus and the Warden Navy, you actually chose a spot where multiple invasions had already failed. So doing the same thing again was actually surprising for a lot of us, and the fact that you're able to pull it off. Actually, a couple questions for you, and then I guess we'll have to move on from here. But questions for you from your perspective, and whoever wants to answer this. How many regiments were involved, and what regiments were involved?
It was primarily us, the Warden Navy, but the clan, the third, a Russian clan, they did an initial landing at first, which was a big distraction for us, which helped us get in, and which you were talking about, that quick reaction. That maybe gave us a few extra minutes of leeway to set up our landing.
DMC, right?
And 3SP came in after the initial landing and helped a lot. And as the battle came on, all the warden groups came on. Gas was a really big help. CL came on like towards the end of the siege of Liar's Haven, and they were huge. And warden randoms in general. I mean, wardens. I called out for vets, and it was really great. Maybe some of the other guys have some perspective on it.
The tank engagements on that island were very interesting when it came to the initial first bridge and getting over it with our one German battle tank. We had our German squad and from WN also in a battle tank during the initial landing. They were great. Like we were doing that tech rush for the battle tank. It came in very handily when Colonials tried to come over with some armor and stuff. Held the line until we got the relic base going and got the shirts going.
How do you muster that many people and how many organizations together for an operation that large and with that many points of failure? How do you lead that? How do you wrangle people together in that way?
I'm not sure if I can answer that.
Well, we already did it once. We already did the Tempest once by landing in Reef.
Well,
So we kind of know what we were
experience.
doing.
Well, experience would be one of the things. We've done it a couple of times, so experience was definitely in our favor because we got the system going down from the first time, and so kind of planning it on the some good days where we get a lot of people on, and you can get these people working together at like a port base, like Axe had a port of Ryman, started getting these boats and these supplies getting ready for everyone to move out in the group.
We do have squad leaders, but it's mostly a hive mind, I would say.
Hive mind, really?
Yeah, I mean, we rarely give each other orders. It's more like, hey, we should do this, and then everyone does it, like instantaneously. I don't know, we just play a lot together, and I guess we just know what each other think, But the only thing that was really frustrating for me, I was in an FA crew, and whenever I loaded up a shell type, someone came in and said, we need AP now, and I had to, get the HE out of the gun and then load up the AP instantly.
Oh, don't forget that someone submitted those shells, and then you had to pull them again when you needed to switch the ammo type.
I was on an FA with emissary for like 3 hours. We killed a lot of light tanks, so it was worth it.
I'll also say there was a great engagement right at the front of a bridge to Iris. There was, I think it was 5 Collie tanks plus a Collie BT. And the new tank system, where certain systems get destroyed, really showed how dynamic it's now like a war. Because whenever we disabled one of the tanks, all of those Collie tanks would just push up to try to defend the damage one so that they could repair it, which was really cool. But it was also the idea that one of the tanks in the back got trapped right in front of a bridge, so they couldn't escape. And all the tanks got slaughtered because of that one action. It just shows how one little problem can cause such huge issues.
That actually mirrors actual tank tactics used all over the place. But even in World War II, where anyone who's read the comments on Fury videos, the Wehrmacht would shoot at the tank column in the back, so they had nowhere to retreat to. But yeah, no, that's awesome that we can even have these moments. But I guess I'll end with this because I guess I'll end with this question, and I guess I'll direct it at Von Klaus, because I'm assuming Von Klaus is the leader of Warden Navy, at least one of the top leaders.
Yes,
That'd be safe to say. How should a leader conduct themselves when leading a group this big?
Well, the most important thing is trust, because if you're trying to direct and command every person and thinking you know best in every situation, you're never going to accomplish very much, or you're only going to accomplish very small goals. If you know and trust the people you're working with, it means I don't have to give out as many orders, and they just know what to do. It's so everything functions better, and then I can pinpoint the real threats of the battle, or the things where I'm needed, and don't have to worry about all the chatter of having to worry about 100 soldiers, 30 guys in my clan. So allowing I have great logistic guys. I just say we need logistics. They know how to bring in the logistics. I have good tankers. They know how to take out enemy tanks. I have good artillery players that know how to take artillery. I don't have to necessarily break down how to do everything for them.
Yeah. So you're saying that the Warden Navy trusts you and you inspire them. Safe to say.
I trust them. That's the more. It's more that I trust them, so it makes planning very easy because I know what they're capable of.
Okay. I know, sorry, some kind of like heady questions there, but I always like getting into the psyche of leadership.
No,
and
definitely,
various
and
outfits.
I love those kind of questions, and I love to answer them, and I feel like our clan is very good at very certain things, at specializing, especially in heavy weapons, and it feels great when I can just tell guys to do X objective and not have to spell out in detail how for them to do it. They know how to work that out themselves.
Okay, high expectation there if you're going to be part of WN to a degree. But yeah. All right. Hey, Warden Navy, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, Mark.
All right.
Thanks.
So.
So I do only have time for 2 more.
Do have time for 2 more. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see if we can sneak in 2.5. But hey, Brownie, can you make this one super short?
So it's gonna be very short.
Hmm.
I have a question for you, Markfoot. You're planning on improving the servers to fit more people, but the player pop is dwindling. So how are you trying to balance that out? Because we have lots of players in the beginning of the war, but now we're starting to get less and less players, which...
Right. No, I see what you're talking about. So like, how does the game adjust? You touched on this earlier, Mark. How does the game adjust? How does that sort of technical wise?
Yeah, it's always tough. Like we always have to make like an estimate on what we believe will be the average population. So we don't only account for the beginning; we have to also account for the end, because there are things. There's a lot of different factors with population. Obviously, a lot of players show up at the beginning. When we also have noticed a pattern of when in the old text tree at least when it reaches the tanks, there's usually a bit of a spike in population. But one thing definitely is that when it starts becoming clear that one side is on the losing end, and there is like a morale drop, then it starts to drop off, and then towards the end of the war, you start having this feeling like maybe things are more sparse. So what we try to do is we look at all those different points and we say, okay, what is the appropriate size of the world? And it's tough because sometimes if we underestimate, which we have, and we're like, okay, let's make this world smaller, then we're dealing with like tons of queues again. And this queue problem, I think it stresses us out. Actually, you know what? It's a good question that I should ask you guys after this is how much that stuff stresses you guys out, because when it really stresses us out, because when we see that there are 50 people in queue, there's 100 people in the queue, that's something that stresses us out a lot, and we spend a lot of time and energy managing that. But then on the other hand, maybe sometimes we like overestimate a bit, and players start feeling like the world is too sparse, and so it's really comes down to how do we improve our estimations, and maybe there's other things we can do to figure out how to scale a war down on the fly. And we've thought really hard about this before, and we don't have clear cut solutions
I
yet.
don't think it can even be whittled down to one mechanic. You know, this is the one mechanic, like efficiency, right, or whatever that can be adjusted. That'll fix every problem. I think the solution is, and this is so hard. The solution is a million things coming together at once and being combined, flexible to be able to support population swings of 1,500 to 400, right? And that is the massive issue with Foxhole of everything coming together in this huge mathematical equation. Where if you get one thing wrong on that equation, it drastically changes the answer. That could literally be a discussion point in itself for 2 hours. But I guess the first
One
thing.
more question.
Yeah,
One
go ahead.
more question.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, Mark. I'm taking too much of your time. But one of the suggestions that I had was have layers of regions open up as the enemy pushes. What would you think of that idea?
I think the hard thing is that it sounds like that would work towards a growing population during a war, whereas a lot of times it's sometimes a shrinking population, especially when there is a morale drop. And the thing is, once regions are open, so this is a very hard problem. Like we've thought about, is it possible to close down regions, right? We've thought about that. Like here are some solutions that we've thought of. It's like maybe and these are like wild things that we don't plan to do, but just the brainstorms that we had in the past, right? Would be things like maybe to address the night swings. Maybe at nighttime, there is like weather, right, in a bunch of regions, and you can't do much in there, so that essentially the world at nighttime. If you look at the Steam graph for most games at nighttime, it drops down to 50% of what the peak hour is in the middle of the day. If you literally look up like any game on Steam, and it looks like a sine wave, right?
Right.
So it's like we thought about when it hits the low point of that wave, maybe we can say, oh, now it's like weather, and a bunch of regions are effectively shut down, so you're dealing with like a smaller set. But the question is, how do you pick that? And how do you do that in a way that won't frustrate players? Because it sounds like it's a great idea, but we know we implement that, it's going to be frustrating. Players are going to be like, well, that region was a critical region and you shut it down for us. Things like that.
What about lucky hubs? You know, if stuff is hidden in the squad storage and so on, you know?
Yeah, it's a very difficult. So we shied away from that solution, at least for now. I'm not saying that we'd never go back to pursue something like that again, but this is a problem that we've like we've stressed over this problem so much over the last couple of years, and that's why when things do get added to the games, things like facility efficiency, and then that was a bad solution. It's not things we take lightly, and a lot of times players ask us like, "What were you thinking when you did that?" Well, it's like, well, we're thinking very long and hard about this problem, and the solution isn't as trivial as it seems.
I'll give you one more thing. We'll move on to our last call, last or second to last caller here. I'll add one more thing about that. Is that, and we're a minority. I'm pretty sure we're a minority. Is that there are people just enjoy being in the way back line, digging trenches, or that may never be seen in bases, or just scrapping. People who just like to hang out, maybe patrol. It's an incredible. Everyone in the chat will be like, "No, you're insane. That's who has the time for that? Who has the time to do half of the things that you would think Foxhole would be, right?" So
I mean, sorry, I do want to slide in something there on that one.
yeah,
You would be surprised. In this war, it has been crazy in the
right?
back line. Like the back lines, we're seeing numbers, or have seen numbers over the last week of like 60 players during normal times in the back line regions. Like literally, I don't know,
Far
some of
back
them are
lines.
far back lines, like Heartlands and such. There are good. I get messaged about this. There are a decent number of players that literally don't do anything except want to build like a bunker base, and that isn't all players for sure. That one is niche, but that's their whole game. Like they don't even go to the front. They just slowly chip away at a base at the back. So yeah, I don't think it's niche, but I guess I have to say that maybe it's not as niche as we might think.
There are niches. That's an important thing to keep in mind. There are niches. Obviously, the game emphasizes certain things over others. They have to, but keep in mind there are niches. That's not an answer, but anyway, I think we'll take our last caller here. Brownie, those were awesome questions. Thank you so much. Oh no, where'd he go? Cracky, there we go. Cracky, welcome. Welcome, Cracky, to Zero Dark PressCorps. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you got for us?
Am I meant to come here with questions or something? Because I just
Or just hang out. You got a story to tell. How do you feel about the Foxhole?
How do I feel about it? Like now for the war?
Yeah. Are you new?
No. I've actually called in before, or at least I've joined the queue in the show before.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah. OCDT, 600 hours in the game. So I'm nowhere near some other people, but I'm decent at it. I take breaks and then I come back, and I've been staying for the long run so far. So I've been enjoying the war recently.
That's awesome. Do you think, is there anything in particular that you really liked about this war that you haven't been able to find in the last 10 wars or something?
I've been able to enjoying the logistics a lot more.
Really? Well, can you
Yeah.
expand on that? Like specify?
Just it might just because I was able to use the harvesters, you know, because
Okay.
usually I'm just sitting there smashing scrap notes with a sledgehammer, and I
Right.
just drive back and forth to Blemish. But I've actually been able to join in with some ops and do shit, so it's been nice.
Actually, on that topic, something we haven't heard a lot about was the mining changes, which we didn't change the economy, so more or
Mining
less
changes?
just sort of like the touch and feel of it. Does it feel better? Does it feel worse?
I like it. I didn't mind enough to notice any small changes in it, but it's been enjoyable for me usually.
Yeah.
Well, the little counter that says how much scrap you got is very satisfying, in my opinion.
I feel like we always have a lot more BMATs with this new update.
Oh
we
yeah.
have so many more BMATs because we get a lot more per node instead of normally.
Also, smaller things. I think there's been small adjustments where things require less, maybe not less, but well, actually, no. Tank traps. Tank traps. They only require BMATs now, right? Not no more refined materials. That might have been an old change, but new to me.
I didn't even know they required like.
Right. I remember Brownie or Moth. We were talking about this. Like, wait, or no, Spots. I think Spots. It was BMATs.
Yeah.
Tank traps only cost BMATs now, which again may have been a thing for a while,
No,
but
they
I
always
never
have
used
cost
them.
BMATs. They always have cost BMATs.
Really? I thought they were RMATs. Well, I don't know. It goes to show how much I know. But Cracky, thank you so much for calling in. Did you have anything else for us? Any questions for Mark?
I keep did spawn rates increased for like just regular scrap notes, right?
Yeah, so that was one of the scaling mechanisms that we had to trigger along with the factory. This was one of the oversights. It was a mistake on our end that we weren't anticipating this many players, so we did have to scale the spawn rates for some of the resources.
No, I've enjoyed it a lot having the higher spawn rates. I was actually able to get to a component yard for once.
I was about to say, there's a lot of people who enjoy that.
Yeah, it's just like there's vultures watching them, and then you never can get them.
Yeah. Personally, and people are going to hate me for this, is that we kind of have lost the fact that tanks have become a little less valued. I mean, don't get me wrong, people still cling to their battle tanks. But and I specifically remember this back in like War 10, or whatever, is that when you lose a tank, you should feel bad. Not bad, but it should feel like a loss. Now I'm noticing people when they lose tanks, it's like, that's all right, we got like 10 more back in the back line or whatever for our outfits. It's like, all right, now we know why update 26 was a thing. It sucked, but it was there for a reason. I don't know. It's the balancing act. Maybe that's just the way of the future. Maybe the experiment has failed. I don't know, Mark.
One question I do have is the petrol change, not requiring petrol anymore. I haven't heard too much about that either.
That was a good change.
Oh,
now we don't now anyone can use a tank because diesel is the definition of common. It only costs like 10 salvage to produce a can of diesel, and you need like 20 salvage to get a light tank fully filled up.
Yeah, I think this falls under the category that we talked about earlier, where if something is working well, you don't hear about it.
My diesel.
The worst part of vehicles and like armored vehicles and stuff was finding petrol, in my opinion. It's a lot better to just be able to, because it's just like I understand why it was there, but it's a lot better this way.
I have an example. I'm a leader of a smaller clan. We can't usually do armored operations because of the high logistics demands of petrol. But now we can actually do armored ops, which I'm quite happy about personally.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Cracky, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
It was good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, Mark. I think you gotta head out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have to head out.
Yeah, I love holding you over and keeping you up at night, but unfortunately, but yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Mark, as always.
Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
All right, he had to get going. And here's the thing: I don't think we're done yet because I do hate leaving the call queue. As everyone leaves the stream, I don't care. But like, I do hate leaving the call queue cold. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a break. But what Spots is gonna do is describe how he can make weather awesome.
I'm actually going to not talk about that idea. I'm going to talk about a different idea.
Go for it.
I just got to pull out my notes on my phone. But I just turned on the voice activation. So listen up, guys. I've got a new idea. You want me to die, I know that for sure. But listen up. I've experienced this war so far, a lack of good AT on the Colonial side. The only 2 AT vehicles we have that are not a tank are the Field AT, which is okay at the beginning of the war, but gets absolutely useless at the end, and the Jihadi Jeep, which is self-explanatory. It sucks. Don't use it. You're gonna die, okay? But my idea is, so what if we get I was thinking about like real-life examples, and I was thinking about 2 ideas. An anti-tank armored car, or B, a case-made tank destroyer. So I decided to work more of the latter idea, but I'm going to work on the former idea as well. So I was thinking, so what caliber gun it should have, and I decided to give a 115 millimeter gun due to the fact that it's a case-made BT tank destroyer, so it should have at least a bigger gun than the normal BT. It has a crew of 5. It has a gunner, driver, 2 loaders, and a commander. And I'm going to talk about the positives and the negatives of this tank. First things first, it can one-shot most tanks. Except for some probably really heavy warning tanks, most tanks can get one-shotted. As well as it has great frontal armor. Its front is well defended. It can take a lot of hits from the front. It has a 45-meter range as well. So it has a longer range than majority. It can take out tanks from a 45-meter range.
Wouldn't it have shorter range because, it's more powerful? Because, one shot's going to kill all these tanks. Wouldn't it have shorter range and get much good personal?
Maybe.
If I can just snipe tanks, and tank combat isn't going to be fun.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm maybe shorter range, but I'm going to describe the downsides to you. First things first, weak side/rear armor. This vehicle could get if you get a sticky hit on it, it has to back off because 2 sticky hits will disable that vehicle. So 2 experienced players with 2 stickies equipped can easily disable your vehicle. 2 stickies from the side and 1 sticky from the rear can disable your vehicle, leaving you dead in the water. As well as that, it has a long reload. It can only get off like maybe 3 to 4 shots per minute.
What is the AT rifle going to do? How much damage? How many shots?
Well, this is more like a more experiment. I'm getting more like the base idea down on it. Then I'm going to think more about like how many shots it will take. But from BTs, probably maybe 3 shots from the side and 2 shots from the rear to disable it. So that you have to worry about your side and the rear. You have to worry about being flanked. As well as that, it's a case-made B tank destroyer, which obviously means it needs to have a limited turret transfers. It can only shoot. It's something like if you ever played the Ballista, you have to have a driver to shoot at something that's behind you. So now you have to worry about that in this vehicle because it's case made. You can't shoot in front of you. You can shoot stuff in front of you, but something on your flank, you have to turn your entire tank to face the threat on your flank.
I just see this is going to be Colonial or Warden. What is this going to be?
A Colonial vehicle.
And so, what's the counterpart for this for Wardens?
In my opinion, for a counterpart for this vehicle, I'm thinking possibly giving the Wardens. I'm not 100% sure what will be the counterpart yet. I was mainly thinking about the Colonial lack of AT, but you do make a good point. The Wardens do need a counterpart to it. Maybe giving them a light tank with something like something maybe like a turreted tank destroyer, something like the M10 in real life.
Well, you're saying this is highly vulnerable from the sides and the rear. Can I just shoot this with a rifle and kill it? Or what?
What did he say? Can you say that again?
Can I shoot this with a rifle and kill it?
No, you can't kill it with a rifle. You must kill it with, like, actual AT weaponry. You need some AT weaponry to take it out still.
I feel as if, like, I don't see this being very... It's too weak to be good. It having that 45-meter range and one shot's most tanks, like, you're gonna lose a bunch of shit. Like, you need infantry, not even infantry cover. Like, this just seems like it would be good if you just placed a bunch of sandbags around it and just chill it in those sandbags.
This is more
This
like,
doesn't seem like tank that you would push with.
Remember, this is more like a basic idea I came up with on the fly.
The Wardens.
This is more a basic idea I come up on the fly. This idea needs a lot more work on it. That's one thing I have to make sure. It needs way more work on it. Because
I mean, this really...
But remember, here was my issue currently in the current armor meta. From my experience, Warden BTs were so common, like almost impossible to deal with from a...
How are there 40 people still watching this? Oh my goodness. Okay, hey.
I don't know.
What were the comments? Just wondering.
They're right. I don't know. You can read them, but in any case, let's go. Let's move on to our next caller. None of them are going to be satisfied. Let's just see who's here. Stranger Days, unfortunately, not in the voice chat. I don't care. Texas, not in the voice chat. Rave, not in the voice chat.
Oh, Stranger Days is back on.
Oh, Stranger Days. Okay, let's. Hey, Stranger Days, welcome back to Zero Dark PressCorps.
Hello.
Hi.
Might not be able to talk to Mark, but I can at least exfoliate on the wonders of emplacements that nobody's been using and everybody needs to use more of.
Put it on the record.
People are complaining about there not being counter to early game armor, but honestly, emplacements are absolutely amazing.
They are wonders of the front line, as I have witnessed myself. It is incredible how everyone's talking about the vehicle variants, which makes sense, but these emplacements are really game changers, or rather line holders. Can you go into them? Yeah, continue.
I believe that the first thing we have to talk about is the reason why I don't think that emplacements will be nerfed before we go any further. I don't think that they'll be nerfed because they're an oopsie net. They're oh no, we made an overpowered vehicle that's available a bit too early in the tech tree. How do we solve this problem? It's okay, just throw emplacements at it. It'll halt the line until we get something to deal with it. Like, I remember earlier people were talking about how the HMG APC was honestly dominating our lines, and I did feel some of that. I was on the reciprocating end of it. Also, I was defending Ocean Watch, I believe it is, with a bunch of, for the most part, at the highest lieutenants, 2 LTs. They were not very well equipped to handle armored vehicles without any of their own.
Right.
But I found this amazing thing, right? I just made sure that they didn't rebuild the trenches that were just sort of scattered around the front. We put down tier 2 emplacement trenches, and we literally just shot at the APCs with the anti-infantry emplacements. And the APCs just didn't know what to do. They were like, "Oh no, we can't just shoot them off. We can't charge them because the trench doesn't die. I guess we leave now." And they kept doing that until at one point in time, I was actually fighting 4 HMG APCs. Like, they reached this critical mass armored ball, and they kept trying to push, but no matter what they did, I was spending B-mats to make this, and they were spending R-mats to make those.
This was Ocean Watch in... Oh my goodness, where is that?
Fisherman's Row.
That's what I thought.
You gotta remember, once upon a time, Wardens had actually taken the entirety of Fisherman's for, like, a day. Then Colonial's got HMG APCs, and we just didn't know what to do. They also got armored half-tracks. The armored half-tracks are pretty good, but I feel like Colonials kind of blew their load a bit too early. They teched all of their good vehicles on the first iteration, so they don't really have candy to play around with now that we're on the second sprint, second phase of the race.
If I can add real quick, in places where you could get behind the town hall, like in Partisan Island, that was where Colonial was fucking kept on going behind us and hitting us with their HMG APCs. Those places were hard to counter with anti-tank emplacements, since you can't really place any fortifications besides AT turrets. Even then, you can stay out of range of them and still shoot the town hall. Like, they just got straight up to us as soon as we took it and just destroyed all of Partisan Island.
You just put a naked emplacement down. They have HMGs. They aren't able. So I've seen a lot of
people after we took it, so we didn't have any AI.
I've seen a lot of people look at emplacements as though we're in the late war. Like, BTs are already unlocked, FA is already unlocked, mortars are already unlocked. People need to remember the anti-infantry emplacement is available once you tech it's the second, maybe third tech in the row. Basically, like, by the second or third day of the war, these things are going to be available, and they're going to be available for the rest of the war. You have to always plan for them to be there potentially. A naked emplacement, when it first comes out, it doesn't have to contend with mortars, it doesn't have to contend with HE grenades or FA or anything like that. The most that Colonials, for the most part, have to deal with these is maybe the machine gun truck or the machine gun bike, in which case, why are you worried about APCs? Like, the HMG APCs, since they're attacking from the water, they're not going to be able to deploy mortars, and they'll need to run at you to use grenades. Because of just how tall the emplacement is, it can actually fire and kill the gunner reliably, in which case the guys in the APC are going to panic, they're going to run, they're going to man the gun, and then the next guy's going to die, and the next guy's going to die, and then eventually the guy driving is going to be like, I'm out of infantry, I guess it's go time to refill on more.
The point I was trying to make, I totally agree with you. The point I was trying to make was that we didn't have any AI at Partisan Island. We didn't have any emplacements to use. No crane to set them up. Emplacements are very good. I do agree with you. That's how we pushed Mercy's Wish early war, just by using a crane and a anti-infantry gun.
Yes, I was there.
It was very... Emplacements are very good, especially as they are in early war. It's just sometimes there's sometimes no real counter.
Do you know how much damage a mortar does to an emplacement?
8%. 8% damage per mortar shell.
Yes, I've made sure to publicize this to as many people as possible. 8% as long as it's in a tier 2 trench. Now, they're using HE mats, right? I think that it's fair trade at that point in time for them to be using HE mats on the emplacement, especially because it takes 12 mortar shots at that point to kill the emplacement, assuming that nobody repairs the emplacement nor the trench. It also takes, I think it was 4 shots from an FA to kill an emplacement. Once again, that's also assuming that nobody repairs it. If you're repairing the emplacement, it actually takes 5 shots, because even 1 hit point more is enough. I was actually testing an anti-tank emplacement as well, and the anti-tank emplacement appears to take even more damage than the standard one. I'm just trying to say this because I don't think that Colonials ever thought to use emplacements against our own vehicles. They never thought to deploy them against anti-tank half-tracks, nor... what other vehicles did we honestly have early war that were really a threat? We had the LMG
half-track. LMGs weren't really that...
Yeah, the HMG APCs were kind of dominant on the sea for a while, I think.
Even on land, they were dominant, just because they were one of the only vehicles that had armor.
Right. Yeah,
it's amazing how much a few inches of steel can do.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think the gospel of emplacements has been spread here on this broadcast, and for good reason, because they're brand new. People don't know about them yet, so.
I think that they're very much so the safety net. They're like, oops, we made an overpowered vehicle. Okay, we'll just dig in and use tier 2 trenches and emplacements.
Right.
It seems like they can be used offensively also, as
Yes.
Yeah.
which I'm more interested in doing now because after seeing what one of the Mercy's Wish pushes used, I think they can be very effective offensive weapons, especially early ward. I know I'm repeating myself, but
Even
I
late
can't stress
ward.
that enough. Even not as much, depending on what's there.
I have a quick question. Isn't there something with the, you know, the emplacements? Isn't that it's faction specific, so you cannot capture another faction's field emplacement?
Yes. Once a player has hopped inside of an unpacked, so it has to be unpacked emplacement. It then belongs to that faction until you pack it again. So very much so, if you're ever getting an emplacement on the front line, hop into it as soon as you can, even if you don't have the gun for it, even if you don't have ammo, even if it already belongs to somebody else. Hop in it, then immediately hop out. Just to make absolutely certain. We almost had an incident where an enemy BT it charged our lines, but one of the players actually jumped out of the BT and tried to get into the emplacement. I shot him just in time, but if he had gotten into that emplacement, we would have been absolutely screwed there.
Yeah. I actually have something. Early this war, the Colonials were at the gates of Saltbrook, right? Saltbrook Channel. We tried to come through the southwestern area. The issue is we couldn't push into the town because there's a new industrial district, and we were pushing right into that. So when we tried to enter, we'll be funneling through like a 10-meter wide area, which we couldn't enter. So we got holded at the gates of Saltbrook. Which
Place called Saltbrook.
Yeah, and I just wanted to discuss about that issue, about the Saltbrook push. My current issue with that is that the industrial district walls prevent you from pushing into like the industrial district properly. You must actually have to destroy the garrison buildings, and there's not enough holes in the wall to really do a push into an industrial district if you're pushing from the outside.
Well, yeah,
you have to come from another angle.
There are like, I think, 8 or so industrial districts on the entire map. There's Saltbrook, there is Viper Pit, the Morse doesn't even have it. Then on the Kali side, there is, I think, is it Blemish or is it Shackletasm?
Blemish.
So it's Blemish, Viper's Pit, Faranac Coast, and then Inland Shore are the 4 maps that have them. And that's it. Those are the only 4 districts like that on the entire map.
But still, I love the industrial districts. It gives an entirely new feel to cities and towns.
Honestly, the new feel I think for the game that hasn't been really discussed is swapping over to a completely new topic. I'll leave if you need me to.
We'll close with
mining
this.
actually. Scrapping has honestly been kind of saved. It's amazing how a sort of fresh coat of paint with just the nodes splitting and then the little visual feedback and the noise.
Yeah.
It
sounds satisfying. It's satisfying.
Yeah, it's more work in some ways, but it feels better somehow. I guess it's one of those like Skinner box effects almost. It's like your gotcha machine. Oh look, I got a shiny. Oh wait, it popped out some iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that change as well. It makes mining more what I like to call interesting. It actually just feels better.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's key jingly moments, and it's perfect. I love it. I can hear the keys jangling, and I love them. I need more of it. But yeah, have a wonderful time, everybody.
Yeah, no, thank you for stopping by, stranger. Have a good one.
Emplacements, use them. Tier 2 trenches, repair it.
All right, coming up next, if they're here. I don't think Texas is it Texas? Nope. But then I think we got to keep going down the line to Red Cross Wraith. Wraith 146 of the Red Cross of the Foxhole Red Cross organization. The Red Cross organization is a group, a kind of a neutral third-party group that goes out into the war and provides humanitarian aid to any and all who, regardless, kind of like a Doctors Without Borders kind of situation. We do view the Red Cross as kind of it's kind of brothers and sisters in arms, or rather lack thereof, in terms of how they operate and how we operate. Granted, our mission on the ground is kind of differentiated by very specific things. But regardless, I'm continuing to ramble until Wraith comes back and unmutes
Well, one thing,
from
we
the
are
voice chat.
both non-clan affiliated, non-faction affiliated. I mean,
Right. At least, well, actually, I guess. Hey, Frank. I guess a question would be for the Red Cross: does the Red Cross allow its members to be part of other groups, or do they have to be dedicated to the Red Cross? I know in the PressCorps, all of our members do take off the press tags and play the game normally. And they do, and many of them are also part of other regiments, part of other groups. Some of them
Imagine
are.
playing the game normally.
Yeah, I know, right? I honestly, it's getting harder for me to do. The more stories come across the desk, and
Geoffrey.
the more stuff there is to do. Yeah. What's up?
No, I was just, I've never seen you play the game normally.
Actually, so I do play under pseudonyms, a number of pseudonyms. I do use a voice changer sometimes. Sometimes I don't talk at all. I'll just pretend I don't have a mic and I'll just type in local chat. So if you ever run into someone who's competent, it might be me. If you find someone who's incompetent, it's probably me. But regardless, you'll probably find me doing long distance trucking and some scrapping and logistics. I like to do that while listening to PressCorps radio. And that sounds like kind of
Devil in the night.
yeah, that sounds
egotistical.
It sounds very egotistical listening to myself. But the truth is, I did make the radio. One of the reasons why I made the radio is specifically because I just like that music. I just like listening to jazz. So it's kind of self-serving in that way. But in any case, Red Cross, Wraith, thank you so much for calling in. Duly appreciate your call and your questions. Have a good one. Good luck to the Red Cross. Coming up next, we do have from the 82 DK. Nope, they're not here. Canadian Cowboy. Is Canadian Cowboy here? Nope, they're not here. Lek left. Who's next? Troll Dad. Nope. Liquid Pop. Nope, not here. Spots already had his turn. I gave him the. I let him cut it early. Johansen, welcome to Zero Dark Press Corps. You had a question for us. What's up?
Well, it wasn't a question. It was a small proposal to Markfoot that we didn't really get to.
Sure, put it on the record. Pretend he's here. He's here.
Well, it was more of the idea of expansion to the world. Because I would really love to see Valley in the game. We've only seen Siva.
Right.
I really want to see Valley. So, my proposal was more of to make wars feel more like wars. So, normally, we'll just be fighting in Siva, right?
Right.
With the Wardens having the logistics hubs in the north and the Colonials were having in the south. But, let's say the Wardens won the war. Then it will suddenly move down south to Valley, where there'll be a certain logistics hubs in Valley, but the Wardens will have the logistics hubs the Colonials had, to switch it around a bit,
So what happens if the Colonials was again? What happens if we have win streaks?
Well, then it'll just stay. It'll just stay as this.
That sounds crazy, and that sounds horrible, and it might be. Let's be honest, it might be. But this is I share this view too. I actually share this idea with you, Johansen. Maybe not exactly, but I do. The basics of it, which is, people hate me for many of my ideas. One of them is I do not mind winning and losing streaks. I do not find that to be necessarily a bad thing in concept. It's probably indicative of, balance issues in the map and now in the vehicles, let's be honest. But in terms of just, if we assume all other factors are even, like vehicles, weapons, map, whatever, if we just assume that, just the idea of large population swings for one faction or people continuously losing or winning in this case, I actually don't mind that at all. If one faction, just keeps continuously getting wailed on, you know how I interpret that? I interpret that as you're building a great story for when they eventually do come back and win. right? So if the Colonials,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's
go
like
ahead.
War 19.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's a perfect example.
Yeah, so like
No,
War
that
19,
sounds
people,
great. I think
people
that
thought.
would vary
Go
up
ahead.
wars. I think it would vary up wars instead of just fighting same regions. But how would you do that for decreased population wars? Would that be disabled for smaller pop wars? Or how would that work?
You could like thin the map out, like the devs already do. You know.
No, hold
They
on.
thin
So
the map out
you're
from the
also
population.
positing the idea. This is coming with the idea that region, like maps are adjusted. Like you'll close down regions, you'll adjust regions. Is that right?
Well, more on war basis, not Because let's say,
but still on a war by war basis. Now you want going back to your original idea because I don't want to diverge too much from what you want to talk about, but you're talking about even more regions. But then, like, okay, so let's say the Wardens in the north reach all the way down south to Great March. You will then unlock 10 more regions or something, or something.
No. It's more like, let's say the Wardens win the war itself, then it'll move further south.
Right, exactly. So then you'll unlock another 10 or so regions in which a new war will pause and take place. Is that correct?
Are we talking about planet side or like a system like planet side where there was like different planets, like
different
when
continents.
one side
different continents.
wins
like Johansen,
that war,
yeah.
Like when one side wins that war, it becomes lockdown. They've won that faction. They receive a bonus or something. And the Colonials might receive a bonus because they're fighting in their homeland, like something.
Yeah. Now personally, I'm not too big on, and again, there's limits to technology, I realize, but I'm not too big on like phases to parts of the map. So I understand where you're coming from. I personally don't. I personally believe every region should be open no matter what, all the time, every war. 200 people playing, awesome. All of 27 regions, or how many regions are there?
That actually brings me to another idea that it was one big map instead of moving but war by war. It was one big map, and it's also a good way to implement trains.
I say that again.
We're talking about trains again.
Trains, okay.
So, there'll be two different rail gauges, a Colonial one and a Warden one, right? So you would slowly build upon your rail gauge. You'll have your rail gauge, if you want to build a new part of a section, will have to be connected to one of your already existing rail gauges. So you cannot go into the backlines and replace the rail gauge.
I have not heard this before. Continue.
And you cannot destroy any track because, Partisan, it would, as a lot of people said, it'd be very annoying with track getting destroyed and all. It's like in World War II, the Germans had massive logistical issues because the Soviet rail gauge was wider than the German one.
Right.
And it could make... Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that even beyond trains, and I don't want to diverge away from that, but even beyond trains, just the fact that having one faction completely dominated or close dominated or cornered or whatever, and then having them start there, having them kind of getting wailed on continuously, I wouldn't mind that so long as the faction that is dominating suffers from some sort of attrition, not efficiency, which is an artificial attrition, but rather the natural act of, okay, hold on, this is really long distance trucking.
It would fit. It would like say, fuck if the old efficiency system, It was also back in the day of efficiency. I was thinking about this. Like, fuck efficiency. It would fix that problem because you have to build the rail gauge and it had to be expensive and take time. So you couldn't just push and win the war, It'll take a while.
I think that would vary up wars a lot.
Yeah, I think my idea is an excellent idea, but it's more, does the developers think it's an excellent idea? Would they want to implement it and so on, You can have a lot of great ideas, but if the developers don't think it's great, they're not going to add it.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Let's make sure not to. If we're talking ideas, I'll say this. if you have an idea, this is to anyone. If you have an idea, maybe this isn't universal, but if you have an idea, run with the idea and don't worry about what the devs necessarily think, because don't play their game. No, what I'm really saying is don't be boxed in of your own ideas. Don't be boxed in by their box. I'm kind of rambling, but just run with it. So Johansen, I actually do like the idea of rail gauges. I had not thought of that, and that is a natural limiter that can be reflected in history as well, because that was a real problem. Like in World War I think the World War I Russians, they had issues with rail gauges. That's why it was so hard, because it was not universal, or there was a difference between the East and the West. I forget.
And the infrastructure was bad. And for the Austro-Hungarians, right? I heard something with that they were only allowed, any train was only allowed to drive as fast as the slowest train there were in the Austro-Hungarian rail system, which was 4 miles an hour. Imagine how fast that went now. Yeah. It would basically, the devs really want to be realistic, you know? They want to try to be realistic, and this could be a realistic, interesting system.
Personally, I kind of don't like the word realism. Even when the devs use it, I'm like, nah. Don't go for realism's sake. Go for like immersion's sake. What makes sense in this world? Not necessarily realism, but kind of lead with the immersion angle. Lead with the gameplay angle too.
You could call, like, realism
To
and
say,
immersion.
real quick, to say about Foxhole, Foxhole is something like a fantasy world, if you think about it.
Right. Yeah. So there are things we can just excuse, and
But one thing,
we'll close with this. Yeah, go ahead.
But one thing. With immersion and realism, they're kind of intertwined, but still not at the same time.
They're not. No, yeah, there is an important difference. But going back to your original idea of a bigger world, just a bigger world in general, honestly, I think this is proven with 2,200 players at max and these long queues. Yeah, make the world bigger. I know. Make 50 regions. Go for it. And because when you have too many, you can scale down. But when you don't have enough, you can't scale up in time. Yeah. You have to literally map new regions. Anyway, Johansen, awesome question. Thank you so much. Coming up next here, we have from the ANZAC group, GreyTheWolf. The ANZAC group is Foxhole's premier regiment for 4 ANZAC players. And GreyTheWolf, thank you for joining us. What'd you have for us here? I think he's setting up his microphone. I know we were going through the list kind of haphazardly.
Hello.
Hey, Grey, welcome.
Hey, Grey. Hello, had my mic off. Hi.
That's all right. Yeah,
Hey, Grey,
welcome
how
to
you
the Dark
doing?
PressCorps. What'd you have for us?
I didn't really have much to say. I just thought I'd join in, share some war anecdotes, things
Yeah,
that happened.
absolutely. We love sharing war stories here. Go for it.
Although, I actually remember one thing. I thought one thing I'd tell was the half tracks. I remember me and the ANZAC clan leader, Epix. We were talking about how to fix the half track because it goes really, really slow off-road now, right? And one thing is, because it's got tracks, it should be fast off-road, but it's got wheels for steering, so I thought it'd have a really, really bad turning circle.
So are you saying it does or it should?
It should.
It should have a bad turning circle. How tight is it right now?
Yeah, like, it's sort of normal,
Sure.
I'd guess.
It'd be similar to how a truck operates, right?
Yeah. It's actually, I'm not sure, but it's actually got a decently good. It's got a decently good turning circle.
Right.
So, yeah, this is decently, but I thought like it should be a lot worse off-road because it's got wheels to turn instead of, and it's got tracks for propulsion, so it should be faster than it is now.
I think what was the half track? Actually, what was the half track meant by the devs implementation? What was it meant to be? It was meant to be an off-road vehicle, or was the armored car meant to be the off-road vehicle? Armored car was meant to be on-road. Half track was meant to be off-road. Is that correct?
I think meant to be off-road. Possibly, it's supposed to be infantry support. I know that. But,
right. But off-road.
I think it was more. I think it was more mix. So like heavier all-rounder. So you can do on-road and off-road pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something, at least in half-track in real life, it was more of an infantry transport vehicle, but with a machine gun slapped on top.
Yeah, but unfortunately the APC kind of fills that. Well, APC
Yeah.
filled that role. So, but here's actually I looked this up because someone was saying it's a half-track. It has to be transport. Actually, if you look up the meaning of a half-track, anything can be any vehicle can be a half-track so long as it meets the requirement of it literally being half-tracked, as in back is tracked. Actually, not even back, just literally 50% of it is tracked, and then it has wheels to compensate for the rest.
Like the Warden off-road truck. That's a half-track, in theory.
Yeah, I actually remember something really interesting with that. I remember something interesting that was that. What was it? One of my friends, Doshika, he sort of started a civil war, I think, under Warden side. Yeah, because I'm not sure if I should be saying this information.
So, by civil war,
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Right. I'm just gonna say it. I may get in trouble for this, but I don't care, because we wanted to get Doshika wanted to get the half-track truck, but then all the clan people, they had a plan, and it was gonna be get the motorcycle first so we could get a tier 3 half-track truck. So basically, randoms were just giving him iron, and he was using that to research the half-track truck, and it ended up winning for a bit.
That doesn't sound bad at all. That just sounds like you work together.
Yeah, but it ended up at 99%, and people thought it was researched, and it stopped working, and so they researched bikes instead. So it was the fact that we were just working there, and that because all the clan people wanted motorcycles first so they could get a tier 3 truck, because it's got a 5% speed boost apparently. That's going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah, so you had a difference of opinion between what the clans wanted and what you wanted, right?
Because I have to point this out, the war is going to be over before you can go around the third time. We all know it. If we just look at the current state of the map, unless the Colonials do a World Conquest 19.
Hey, they might. They honestly might. This has been crazy war.
Now, there's something that saddens me. Light machine guns was never unlocked on the Colonial side. Light machine guns are an excellent tool, but nobody seems to care about them.
Because storm rifles are better in every possible way.
No. Light machine gun is a good suppression weapon. Like, if you fight in a team, light machine gun is excellent. But if you don't fight in a team, the light machine gun is shit. Light machine gun is a team weapon.
Yeah. It's kind of like an infantry support weapon, like a BAR, right? That's its inspiration, I'm assuming, BAR.
I think, like, it looked a more Masson light machine gun, which was the first ever light machine gun made. Which it's basically, the heavy machine gun is a good support weapon, but it's way too slow and bulky. That's why the light machine gun is better, because you can move around with it and still stand up and shoot without having to set up. It takes a few seconds, but it doesn't take as long. So I highly encourage everybody to research light machine guns because they're such a good weapon.
There's a thought. Whether or not people agree with you, well, that's for the votes to decide. Hey, Grey, did you have anything else for us?
Not really. Other than just...
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, alright, thanks.
Have a good one.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, you too.
Alright, he may not have even realized he was on it, but up next we have... They're not in queue anymore. Who's last? I think Splenda.
Yeah, it's Splenda.
Splenda, welcome to Zero Dark PressCorps. Can you hear me? Am I coming through of the T3C?
Hi, I'm Splenda of the Three Crowns.
3 Crowns?
Yes, sir. That's what the abbreviation stands for.
Nice.
One of the Colonial's logistic plan.
Good name.
Thank you. It was actually Snugglepuffs who made it, not I. Yeah, I just carry on his ideologies.
Right.
First of all, before I start discussing about what I want to discuss, ANZAC, I love Doshika. We actually had him on our side for a while. Good on the man to go and do some crazy stuff like that. The implementation of the voting system and the removal of U parts. That's what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to talk to Mark about something else, but I got way late in the queue.
That's okay. Pretend he's here. Go ahead. Tell him off.
Well, for one, all right, and this was a huge pain in my neck.
Right.
In Alloyd's Bite, I believe the place is called Mercy's Whale. Mercy's Whale, that vehicle factory, is literally sitting on just outside of the town hall's coverage. So you can't build any foxholes on the rear side of it. So literally, if it's blown, the wardens can actually get on there from the rear and get on top of the darn thing. Yeah. So we've had fun, in Alloyd's Bite for the past 4
Is it
5
Alloyd
hours.
or Allod? I always forget.
Alloyd. I don't know.
I think it's
Alloyd.
Goodness, I don't know.
Alloyds. It's alloids.
This is kind of like the Iuxta and Luxta thing, where everyone just mispronounces it, and then soon enough that'll be the correct way to say it. So who knows? Whatever. I'm being pedantic.
So the new voting system, it's I don't know how it is for you guys, but for us, it's a real headache. Whenever we have to sit here, we have to screech at some of the guys who just don't understand, and I don't even know if it was even covered in any of the dev streams that they were going to be going and doing that. I may be mistaken,
Right.
but I don't think it was covered. And a lot of new players, they're finding themselves at a loss, being told to do what, and most of the time they just don't listen. Cause I guess everything went from using U parts to now this more or less democratic system.
So you're saying you don't like the new system, and do you prefer it over the old?
I'm torn in half. Like, half of me loves the idea because you can get AI up in just a matter of minutes. You can go and get a fully, I don't want to say fully decked out Bob, but you can most definitely get a tier 2 Bob, set up in just a matter of hours. But for me, let's say that you're just, and this is something that you guys were discussing earlier, right? How everyone has their own niches. My boys, we have a guy, we call him the Diesel King. He goes around and he gets all these little diesel trucks. He puts them all over the mines, all over the logi hubs. That's all he does. He only comes in just to do that for the Colonial side.
That's actually awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, his name's Psycho. I'm probably butchering his name, but he's a good guy.
If I see him in game, I need to commend him.
Yeah, you'll usually see him hanging out in our Logi chat. But for the clan man or even the random that just supposed to sit there and build a bunker, that is the most difficult thing you can do with this new system. For this system, it requires you to get an X amount of votes in order to go and progress from provisional to small garrison, then to large garrison, so on and so forth. Now,
oh god, don't get me started on professional garrison.
Oh no, we're getting there, baby. We're getting there. See,
professional garrison. Oh god, why? I'm
sorry, but it took me 4 days to even get to large garrison. Now, granted, that is actually great for some people. That is a large feat, but for me, I had to do very dirty back alley deals and pretty much screech and cry, in region chat.
This is the issue. One thing I have to say about the voting system, my main issue is that I like it, but come on, professional garrison should be always active.
You think?
I feel like I shouldn't have to go and harass people and tell them, hey, stop what you're doing. Come vote over here. Hey, you're going by my thing. Stop what you're doing. Come here. Just set your spot here and vote. Please.
That is absolutely, that is something that I hate doing this, but sometimes every now and then when new features are implemented, it's kind of just a matter of, okay, well, People just got to get used to it. The player base has to get used to it. New players, whatever. But regardless, there are definitely things. There are so many things that could be solved with just tooltips, you know. But to a degree. But I guess that's part of the new player experience. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. Personally, I think I do like the new system because it's not just because it's more democratic, but it's just more natural. If you're going to spawn at a base, um, if you're going to keep using a base, yeah, why not just keep, you know, why not have that be the one that everyone's voting on, right? So it's similar to how the new spawn system or the post spawn system, the spawn system was implemented. When the more people use it, the more it will be used as a spawn point. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of course. Just like for front lines, it's great. For rear, for like back lines, oh lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, if anything, I want stability as someone. Maybe if for me, sometimes I go logi. If I'm doing some logi work, I want to just drive by a bunker,
Logi is for chumps, man.
just
Real
hop
shit
out,
up for infantry.
full on it, and then continue on my lower work. Just full on a bunker base, get it upgrade.
Could it be argued? Could it be argued that because a base does not see a lot of action or does not see a lot of traffic, therefore it does not earn the votes to be upgraded? Could that be?
I don't think that would. I mean, like, if a guy's sitting there, like, let's say the war's going on in Faranac and the wardens have pushed from Bonehaft all the way down to the very bridge of Jade Cove, and Buddy doesn't want to exactly go and throw a bunker base right there at the crossroad leading in from Pleading Wharf to Jade Cove. Let's say he doesn't want to put one there, but he wants to put something a little bit in the rear, something that's got a little bit more flat ground that he could sit there and just build something viable, since there's that big wide open nothing right there in Westgate. Like, I feel like that it shouldn't be prioritized as to say, but it should at least over time still go and just still earn votes over time, or at least earn those points in the voting tree or in the tech tree per se for the Bob.
Well, that is a thought. And
I think definitely a good combination of the two. Some sort of upgrade part system, but allowing voting to speed that up.
Yeah, actually, if you guys ever built the storm cannons prior to this update, they actually took out a lot of things that you would use.
Actually, I knew how much they cost to get a Chad storm cannon, not the baby storm cannon that has the really
with the
bad
upgrades.
range on it. No, I'm talking about the good one. It took like 150 up parts.
Now you just vote for it. You don't know if you have it or not. You just like, oop, do I have it? Maybe. Let's shoot for it.
Or you can easily tell if you just use the scroll wheel and you see, oh, we're at 1,000 meters. Okay, it's fully upgraded.
Yeah.
What would your guys' thoughts be on a system, though, that was kind of a combination of the old one and the new one?
I would like it, but my personal issue, if don't bring back the up part efficiency. No, I don't want the PTSD trying to push the war in territory.
Well, it comes back to the idea I talked about. You could just say, fuck the democratic system, fuck the efficiency system, and just go for full on, well, if you can't bring the logi up because it's too far away to bring it up.
Did you say screw democracy? That's a heretic of Veli right there.
Well, I am a monarchist, so
let's put this guy in the jail. No, he's a communist.
I was gonna say just keep the AI as a voting system, and then keep everything else. Like, let's say you're doing a Bob, to just keep it how it was before. You just build X amount of infrastructure, and that helps you build it up. There's no reason that it should have been switched all the way around and just made very, very loopy.
Yeah, I agree with the infrastructure idea. I like the infrastructure system. You build up infrastructure and upgrades. That should have how it still worked.
So you would literally have road crews. like construction road crews.
Listen, we already have like traffic police.
That's true. I made this point earlier where it's like you have people literally who just like role play, who love to role play like campfires in like the way back line, literally going on patrol, watching out for partisans. I have met them, and it's like, you really do this. And then I look at myself, damn, I really host like this stupid ass war journalism thing in this game. But hey, niches.
Geoffrey, I finally stated. Pause.
Niches are a thing. Niches are a thing. So I don't know. Splenda, did you have anything else for us here? I know we could keep going.
No, I don't want to drone on for hours. And
I mean, I think you're literally last, so I think we're good.
All right. Well, I'm gonna probably get back on the front because I have to go bash my head in against the VP.
After dark.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our Zero Dark Press Corps. Another episode. Thank you so much to everyone who stopped by to listen, whether you just for a little bit or to the end. Thank you so much. Thank you to Markfoot for stopping by. Really spending his evenings wading through more community questions and threading the thin needle of what to say, because that isn't easy. As someone who's been in a similar situation and how to handle touchy subjects and hot button issues, thankfully I don't have the responsibility of having to resolve those issues, but he does. And lastly, I just want to thank this incredible core of reporters, both new and old. Some people brand new, some people literally just recruited during this show, apparently.
Yeah, we added them to the basement.
I don't know what they're talking about. This whole basement joke.
Geoffrey, when you gonna let me out of the basement? I'm hungry, please. I want to go home.
All of our reporters
it's
are well
cold
fed.
down here, please. It's cold. I'm freezing. Are you gonna give me a blanket or something?
They left on their own. I don't know why they left, but in any case,
Accept your fate.
thank you so much for stopping by. We're gonna put this up, and hopefully the community enjoy. I had more. Oh yes, if you had any story to share from the Foxhole War, for your experiences, please let us know through the submissions channel in the Discord, and Discord link below. Just click on the picture and it'll take you here. Additionally, I'll posit I love that word, posit a challenge to all of the PressCorps reporters. If you would like to share an oral history of what you experienced, ping the PressCorps reporter tag, and hopefully one of our many PressCorps reporters will be willing to record that interview, either literally record it as in an audio recording, or even just record it writing stuff down. Don't be afraid to get in touch with one of our reporters. I think it's safe to say we have enough now where we can kind of offer that service, not in a timely fashion, because I'm literally backed up on reports, like 20 reports that need to be published. But I'll posit that challenge to please stop by, ping a reporter, and we'll see if they can get to you. Can't guarantee it, but I'll challenge us to do it. So, in any case, any closing words, anyone?
DM me if more stories.
Awesome.
I those stories, man.
Yeah.
Need more stories.
I think Toto also asked, hey, ping me if you got any logistics questions, any logistics stories to share. Love it too. So we got a nice roster to mess with.
Toto. It was actually an ex-member of my clan.
Nice. All right, but I think that's all we had for now. For the Press Corps, I'm Geoffrey Jennings. This has been the Press Corps. Thank you. Good night and good fight.
The Press Corps is a non-profit creative collective of artists, reporters, and players from the MMO video game Foxhole by Clapfoot. Our mission is to engross our audience in and amplify the stories of this unique war ecosystem. The Press Corps was founded in early 2018 by former PlanetSide 2 Radio Free Araxis host, Captain-in-Arms. It is a separate community entity and is in no way representative of Clapfoot. For more info, visit the Press Corps Discord through the link below.